and the babies in the room. So with that, I am going to call this meeting to order. Welcome all of you. We love having a full house, public engagement, and that means that we're either doing something really, really right or really, really wrong, and I'm going to say we're doing something really, really right. So let's go with that. If we could please have our roll call.
Councilmember Jackson.
Councilmember Jackson.
Here.
Councilmember Cardenas.
Present.
Councilmember Silva.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia.
Present.
And Mayor Vegas Walker.
Here. Okay, at this time, we are going to have a Pledge of Allegiance led by our Mayor Pro Tem, and then we have a special guest with us this evening to lead us in the invocation, Dr. Robert Moser from Catholic Charities. If you could all please stand.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, Creator and benefactor of all things good, bestow your blessings and gifts on those assembled here this evening, to those elected, to those who serve, to those who reside, and to those who petition. May your wisdom, grace, compassion, prudence, civility, and love descend upon us, so that the deliberations and decisions made tonight are for the common good. Keep those with special needs, the hungry, the homeless, the lost and forgotten, the lonely and the troubled, close to your bosom. Help us all to see, hear, and act towards them as your only begotten Son did, with mercy and justice. We ask this in his name. Amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. So we have coming up on the 15th of the month, the State of the City Address, and the State of the City Address is going to be a celebration of champions. Okay, so all of my department heads, raise your hands. Department heads. So preview of coming attractions, we are celebrating champions, and each of you will be recognized at the State of the City Address a week from Thursday at 5:30. So you need to be there, or you can send a cardboard cutout. Somebody needs to be there to get your award. Okay, so that's a perfect lead-in to a celebration of a true champion, and I'd like Patricia Urena to come forward, please, up to the microphone, because you're going to be doing some talking. And it's just so wonderful that Sylvia's in the house, too. Because these two are a tag team. You've known each other for how many years? Third grade. And if you ever want to hear some hilarious stories, just listen to Sylvia and Pat growing up. And I mean, the two of them together, what a tag team. Must have been really a lot of fun. And for that friendship to continue all of these years, because you're both now in your 30s. So I think that's
Yes, we are.
that's awesome. Pat is absolutely remarkable. She has worked for the city of El Centro in our Parks and Recreation Department for a gazillion years, and has been instrumental in, I think, El Centro having the best recreational program of any city in anywhere ever. But there's more that Pat does that I think is worthy of this special recognition, and those two programs are Special Olympics and the NIPM program, the National Youth Project Using Mini Bikes program, which is what she's going to be specifically recognized for this evening. But where I think I really became closest to Pat was through the Special Olympics program, and having the opportunity to go with her to Cal State Long Beach to participate with our athletes from the Valley in that program. And I will never, ever forget watching the kids race. They were in a They were in a track and field event, so they're running around the track, and we had two of the boys from the valley, and one of them was just doing really, really great, way out in front, and the other, his teammate was farther behind. And the kid in front looked behind and figured out that his friend was behind him, and he stopped. And he said, I wanted to cross the finish line with my friend. So he waited, and I thought, wow, that just, I will forever remember that story, and I have Pat to thank for that. But tonight we're celebrating her work with the National Youth Project using mini bikes, the NIPM program, which again is under the City of El Centro's umbrella. This is a countywide program, Special Olympics, countywide program, but they're both housed within the City of El Centro, and we have Pat and her leadership to thank for that. So Pat, what I'd like you to do is share a little bit about being at the Rose Parade and some of the other successes with the mini bike program, particularly as it is used with regard to an incentive for keeping our kids in school.
Okay, I love talking about my programs, but I know that we have a full house here and everybody has to go home and do homework. And I was gonna bring a cutout just for fun. I want to say that the NIPM program, again, has been here we're considered the oldest California program in the state of California. There's about 49 programs nationally, but El Centro, thanks to our council and our department, has kept that program to encourage kids to go to school. And that's what I talk about, go to school. If you go to school, you can get on that motorcycle, read a book, because reading books opens up the door for everything. So read a book. And just, you have the opportunity to go to school, and that motorcycle that you ride, you can buy it if you have an education, and that you give to the community. So the program works with the families. It's important that we have a foundation, which is the mom, the dad, uncle, aunt, whoever, in order for the kids to grow to the next tier, which is education. Once we get them into the education portion and we get them back to school, then we work on community service, because you always give back to others that give to you. So we've been working on that for the last 2 years with this new group. We have a couple of new members. We talk about how they are a value to our community, because they may be the next mayor, the next city manager, but they got to go to school. And so they have to believe in themselves. And that's the most important thing about this program. Believe in yourself, because other people believe in you. And so NIPM encourages the kids to do all of this. We also have Special Olympics, and we encourage our kids to work with kids with disabilities. We have Brandon, who is our local swimmer for Imperial Valley Special Olympics. He just finished the 21 lessons, so he's out riding with the kids as well.
Awesome.
So we want to make sure that it's a safe program for everybody, because we have the richest riding areas in the state of California, and everybody at Honda knows that. The Rose Parade was a great experience. I think it's a lifetime experience for the two individuals that were on there, Landon and Marissa, and I know that they were exhausted. And after that, they had the opportunity to go to the ball game, and that game was epic. So I think they're always going to remember all of that, and how Honda treats you. I said, you can work for a corporation like Honda, because there are openings everywhere. The program also teaches them a vocation on how to tear that bike apart and put it back together again, which they've done. And before you ride the bike, we tear it up and tell them put it back together again so you can ride it. So once they put it together and they turn on the bike, you should see their faces. So we're very happy that we still have the support of the council and the department to continue to run this program. So we're very humbled to be here tonight.
Thank you, Pat.
If I may, just real quick, I know we have a very heavy agenda, but, Pat, you're an amazing person. Not only do you make a municipality impact, you make a regional impact. Your grant writing abilities, I think, are also just incredible. We're on the eve of receiving those 2 15-passenger vans on behalf of NIPM, and I just can't tell you how much we appreciate that you're on our team. So, and you know what, and probably the best thing about it is that there's been no signs of you slowing down.
Yeah.
So I love it. So if there's anything we can do to keep supporting your efforts, please let us know.
Well,
Thank you.
She's only in her
Thank
30s, so.
You heard us, oh, yeah, I'm barely turning 30.
I just, congratulations, Pat. We are very fortunate to have somebody like with you, with your passion for both the Nippon program and for the Special Olympics. I know it's very near and dear to your heart, and you show that, and I think it reflects in the kids that you have in your programs. And I think it's just a great way to show, El Centro is involved with this, even though, as the mayor said, it's a countywide effort, and some of these kids are probably not all from El Centro, but it's all under our umbrella. And I think that speaks volumes about our leadership and about your leadership, and we're just so fortunate to have you and your programs here with the city of El Centro.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, thank you. Likewise, I've been thinking about, the work that you've done, and I've known you for a long time, Pat, as well. And, I think how special it must be, I know for all of us, but it should be special to you as well, to see the legacy that you're building in our community, and to know that because of the work that you're doing, our community is a better place without your work, and not just in the short term, but in the long term, because young people, what she tells you is the truth. The key to all of us being on this side of the podium is education and getting your degrees and doing what you have to do. So she's absolutely right in terms of what you can achieve in life if you do what she tells you to do. So absolutely. And, congratulations, Pat. I don't know what else to say, but you're just amazing and awesome.
Well, thank you.
Pat, first and foremost, your dedication to the citizens of this community, not just in the city but countywide, is inspiring. And to be involved in these countywide programs and have them here, it's making a great impact on our youth, and that's something dear to my heart, especially how you stress education. That is something very, very important, and hopefully with your efforts, we will have our future community leaders and our future business professionals come through these programs. And hard work, dedication, and education makes a huge difference, but ultimately it's those mentors. I remember mine, and we never forget. So thank you very much for all your dedication.
Right, we're going to take a quick picture.
Thank you. Yes. Pardon? Oh, we'll take all my Special Olympic athlete, yeah. And, I just wanted to say that, we're humbled by this recognition, and I will receive it on behalf of this entire village here, because they're the ones that make it happen, and, from the staff to all the parents. And of course, I always thank my son for being, yeah, Robert. No, not yet. Not yet. He's a volunteer.
Okay. Come on in, Pat. In front of the council member, we're going to do 2 rows. Patricia, get over here. Stop it. Be nice. Here you go, this is yours. Yeah, honey. Good?
It's like fashion models. Look at you.
All right, thank you. All right. Okay, so we won't be offended if you have to go home and do homework now. All right, Pat, didn't you say this was Taco Tuesday and you were treating everybody to tacos?
Thank you again.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Thank you. great way to start the meeting. So now we're going to have a presentation of our new Public Works staff. And Abraham, you're here to do the honors?
Yes. So good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. Today I have a tough act to follow, but I do have some exciting news. I'm here to share that we're fortunate to welcome some very qualified individuals to form part of our Public Works team. So we have Arturo Lucero joining us from Facility Maintenance. And he's our new maintenance mechanic, and he brings a very strong background in building, construction, and HVAC. We also have Javier Luna.
Come on up, Javier.
So he's joining us in our engineering division as our associate engineer, and he comes with a strong background in civil engineering and project management. And we have Mark Limon.
Yes.
And he's joining. And he's joining us in the Public Works yard, and he's the maintenance supervisor for streets, underground, and shop. So quite a few responsibilities there. So I actually want to have him come forward and kind of tell them a little bit about themselves. And I guess we'll start with Arturo.
Okay,
Well, hello, and how you guys doing?
we're doing great, and you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, well, my name is Arturo Lucero. I am happy to be here, very excited to be here, actually. This is what I like doing, so what could be better than that, right? I'm married. I have 4 girls, all girls. And on my spare time, I like to read the
Take
Bible.
care of 4 girls.
It's actually, it's especially the 2-year-old, you gotta chase around.
Ow.
Yeah. And I like attending church Wednesdays and Saturday and Sundays. Yeah, I just enjoy that, enjoy my work and enjoy the family.
We're so glad you're here. Thank you. How about Javier?
All right. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, staff. First off, I'd like to say thank you really to Abraham and the engineering staff and all the other departments underneath Abraham. They've been very welcoming. They exude a lot of warmth, and it's been such an easy transition for me to start working here in El City of El Centro. I feel really good being here. We seem to have a great public works staff. I think with what I can bring to the table and what everybody else has here, I think the whole public works department and everyone else in City Hall, I think we can really continue to just enhance the quality of life here in the City of El Centro. And I'm excited about that because the City of El Centro, it's not just a city. To me, I consider it my city because I am practically born and raised here. I did attend schools such as, McKinley, King, Kennedy, graduated from Southwest in 2000, go Eagles. And then I did leave to Los Angeles. I was there for 11 years. I did get my bachelor's. I got my bachelor's in civil engineering, my master's in engineering management, and then returned back here in El Centro, 2011. Worked 6 years at the Holt Group, where I got very, very good teachings from Mr. Jack Holt. Jack Holt, if you're watching it, hello. Thank you. And now I'm here with the City of El Centro, and I'm looking forward to what we can do, because there's a lot of work.
There is a lot of work.
Yeah, so thank you
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Put this down. Good evening, council. Hello, everyone. Well, my name is Mark Limon. First thing I want to say is I want to thank God for all the blessings in my life. I want to thank my family, my wife, my parents for all the support they've done for me, all my friends in this transition. I've been working in the public sector since I was 19. I worked for City of Brawley for almost 10 years. I have certifications in water distribution, water treatment, backflow. I have schooling in USC, different water colleges. I graduated BOHS, go Brawley.
All right, you're done.
Should we remind him who has the bell this?
Yeah. He must have missed that meeting.
Yeah. First off, I want to say thank you to everybody involved in hiring me. I do appreciate everybody giving me the opportunity at this time in my age. I am 29. But yeah, I want to thank everybody. Thank you, council. Okay.
Thank you all.
you.
Wow. Your comment?
You know, just Abraham, I want to, or Mr. Campos, I want to thank you again for bringing these folks up, and they're actually married to some amazing ladies too. I see Katie here, and so thank you. We are a family affair, so your entire family is welcome to our family, and I also want to recognize Mr. Mike Reed, who I also appreciate a lot and everything that you guys do. So thank you, Mr. Campos, for bringing them and introducing them to the council.
Yes, appreciate it.
As you can see, very fortunate.
Yeah, just simply, welcome to El Centro, and I like the passion that you guys are speaking with. It just shows that you're happy to be here, happy to be at work in City of El Centro, and I think, when you're looking forward to go to work every day, then good positive things happen, and we all have a lot of excitement about some of these projects that are coming on board pretty soon, and I think we're going to talk about some of them today, about Measure P funds, and I think there couldn't be a better city, especially for public works, to work in right now than El Centro because of Measure P and all the projects coming online in the next three to 5 years. So welcome to Save El Centro.
Rest up. That's
Yeah.
what I'm just going to tell you. There's a lot of great things coming. Oh,
Just want to say welcome. We look at things a little differently out here. It's not just it's a job, it's a career. Some of our finest moments that we have on the council is handing out retirement plaques. People have been here 30 years, 34 years. It's an amazing legacy that we have in these departments, and you guys are coming in at an extremely exciting time. We have tons of work for you to get done. Lots of projects, and I know I've had discussions with you about it, and it's wonderful to be introduced to you. Welcome to the city. Welcome to hopefully a very, very long and prosperous career. We look forward to many great things, and with time, I hope that you can drive around town and point out things to your family, your little guys that are growing up, and be like, I helped get that up here. And hopefully we can all enjoy it for the betterment of the city.
Yeah.
So thank you and welcome.
Yeah, likewise, I think, I want to just highlight something that was said by one of you guys, and that you are, in fact, from our perspective, the best run, the best administered, the best city in the Imperial Valley. And I think all of that has to do with our department heads, as it was mentioned before. We have a terrific staff, terrific department heads, city managers, city attorney, and everyone that really makes this city the finest city it is. So I know that with your help, with your work, we're going to continue that and just make life better for our citizens.
I think, Mr. Campos, it speaks volumes that you're able to attract such talent, right? I mean,
Not easy.
Well, number one, it's not easy, but number two, people come to work for people that they respect and know are going to do great things. And so I think it's a testament to you and your leadership, your management skills. I'd like to thank the HR department. I know it's never easy to bring on such quality employees, and I know a lot of work is involved with the recruitment process, so I want to thank the HR department for that. I love the fact that you have young children and that you know that you're going to be involved in shaping what this city looks like for decades to come. So thank you, welcome, and we're really glad that you're part of our team. Okay? All righty, moving on.
And
Yes.
with that, I'm taking the family out to eat.
Okay, you take the family out to eat. All right. With that, we are going to move on now to our El Centro Chamber of Commerce monthly report.
Guys, how's it going?
Good.
Looks like
We-
you have a busy night, so we'll try and keep it short.
You'll
We
keep
do
it
have a couple
brief.
things.
You'll keep it brief,
Brief.
not short.
Okay. Brief. Yeah, I don't deal good
Sitting on
with
a phone
short.
book right now.
Yeah, I know. Very good. We do have a couple things coming up. Because we'll be closed on President's Day, our monthly meeting, board meeting will be next Monday at noon. So just wanted to let you guys know that if you can make it. We do have the Air Show Gala coming up on
Where?
Saturday.
Where's that?
It has been decided we are going to move it to St. Mary's. We have the food set up, everything's ready. They went over, checked for decorating and everything today. It was not an easy decision because this is the Air Show Gala, and to move it off of the base was not something we really wanted to do. Unfortunately, with our government and the way it is operating right now, we couldn't guarantee that the government would be funded and operating this week, and if that were the case, we would have to cancel it at last meeting. So we decided to go ahead and make the jump and bring it off base. The commanders at the base and his people are okay with it. They understand completely, and hopefully it doesn't shut down, and I can apologize for having to move it off, but I think for the event, for the base itself and everything, it was the right decision for us at that time.
So same time, just different location?
Yes, ma'am. And in regards to that, I really want to thank you personally. When we sent out the email that we may have to move it, one of the first calls we got at the chamber was Cheryl, and she called and asked, how can the city help? If you need help finding a place, let us. And that is the kind of relationship that we cherish having with you guys as a city council. And so thank you very, very much for offering. And we look forward to an exciting and still a good night.
We'll be there.
Okay?
Okay?
Questions? Good?
We'll see you Saturday.
We'll see you on Saturday.
Have a great meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up, Central Union High School District Update, presentation on attendance campaign and the bond construction project. The mentoring program, we're gonna ask that you come back in April,
Yes.
would be great. All right,
Thank you.
take it away,
Thank you very
please.
much. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Mayor Villegas-Walker and the rest of the council for having us here this evening. It's always a pleasure for us to speak to the council and to the rest of our community and showcase the wonderful things that we are executing in our district and the successes that we are experiencing. So before we proceed with our presentation, I'd like to also acknowledge our Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Arnold Preciado, who will also be presenting part of this presentation, and also want to acknowledge our fearless leader, Trustee Todd Evangelist, who is with us this evening here, supporting us because he is indeed behind a lot of these efforts in our district. I think the presentations that were done earlier this evening really are a good segue to what we're going to be discussing today. Pat Ureña spoke to the fact that she promotes attendance, good attendance, and of course our students keeping up with homework and with reading. And without the community support, it's very difficult for us to accomplish what we're set to accomplish within our district. Likewise, I do also want to acknowledge the City Council, because back in December of 2015, when we first launched this attendance campaign in an effort to combat our chronic absenteeism, the City Council was behind us 100%. And you approved a proclamation that we actually used with our school community to support our efforts in this attendance campaign. So I want to publicly acknowledge the City Council for the partnership that was established back in December of 2015. So, why is it that we are concerned about student attendance? Well, the obvious is that if students are not in class, they are not learning. That is the obvious, right? And if students are not in class, perhaps they are out in the community or in their homes being mischievous, right? Or not learning, falling behind, et cetera, et cetera. So we feel very confident that if students are in class, in their classroom, learning from their teachers, we will ultimately then prepare better citizens that will produce and that will contribute to our community in a positive way. Our vision is that we will shape the future and that we will make a difference for every single child. And that's why this is important. It is not that we had poor attendance. It is that we were not serving 100% of the students 100% of the time. And our goal is to serve 100% of the students 100% of the time and make a difference for each child. So we felt that this attendance campaign would help us. What is it that we targeted first? We first targeted those students that exhibited chronic absences. It's not solely students that have unexcused absences, but a combination of unexcused absences and excused absences that make up at least 10% of the school year. That's what constitutes a chronic absence, okay? So many times the misconception is that it's only those students that are unexcused. No, it's also those kids that are excused that for whatever reason are habitually absent from school. So these are 4 major components, and I apologize for the text. I believe you have a presentation in front of you.
Here. Perfect.
Yes, so if you would please peruse that slide. These are 4 important components that we have instituted since we launched this attendance campaign. And the first one, and it's probably the most important one, is the composition of a district attendance improvement team that is spearheaded by Mr. Arnold Preciado. And this team consists of district office staff, board members, and site staff. Essentially, the goal is for this team to identify strategies that we can utilize not only within our school community, but out in the entire community to help improve and promote attendance. And so that is ultimately what this team is charged with. We also have increased our parent notification to involve our parents in this effort. We have, as many of you have seen, we've put announcements out in the community, including the billboards, and we've had attendance commercials, radio, Ivy Press, advertisements, and last year we also started with Saturday school. We reinstituted Saturday school. So our students that have either excused or unexcused absences can make up their absences during Saturday school. Okay, so that has been an important component of our campaign. Let me draw your attention. This is a busy schedule or a busy chart, but let me draw your attention to the middle column where we have arrows pointing to a percentage. And we'll start with the very bottom one. And these are the percentages that we gathered back in 14-15 that show a sum of students that were deemed chronically absent, severely chronically absent, or moderately chronically absent. 15.2% of our student population fell under that category. Okay? So again, we started this campaign in 15-16. At the end of the year, it had decreased from 15.2% to 13.8%. And in 16-17, it decreased further to 10.8%. This year to date, it is 9.7%. So we felt that if we targeted this population of students that were chronically absent, our attendance rates would improve. Indeed, they have, because if you look at this table, for instance, and look at the middle row, we have the highlighted middle row, we have the attendance percentage overall in our district. So notice that back in 12-13, we were at 94.98 and has increased to 95.38%. Now, when you consider that our student population is made up of about 4,200 students, this percentage is phenomenal. And for a high school, it's even better. So we're happy to report that because we've targeted our chronic absenteeism, that we have improved our attendance rates district-wide, and we believe firmly and strongly that it is because of our collaborative efforts and bodies like the City Council that have teamed up with this Central Union High School District that we have targeted this percentage. Okay, so that concludes this portion of the presentation. I don't know if there are any questions before we proceed to our construction update.
Questions or comments?
Just real quick comment. I also wanted to highlight that what I've heard from the Central Union High School District, that also your expulsion rates are down substantially as well. So it's not a situation where you're SARBing and expelling the chronically absent. You're actually working with these families, and your expulsion rates have gone down significantly as well. So I wanted to highlight that as far as your leadership and working with these families, getting these folks in school instead of expelling them and getting them out. And alternative schools. So I do want to highlight that.
Thank you, Councilman Cardenas. In addition to reducing expulsions, we've also reduced suspensions. Yes. Again, we believe that students need to be in the classroom to learn. Now, having said that, when there are behaviors that do warrant alternative discipline, We do impose it. However, we have found alternative methods to respond to mischievous conduct to ensure that the students remain in the classroom and students continue to learn. So thank you very much for that point.
Thank you. All right.
All right, let's move on then to construction, and I'm going to defer to Mr. Preciado to help us with that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Montaño. Madam Mayor, City Council folks, thank you very much for having us here tonight. And my portion of the presentation has to deal with facilities. So not only do we want children, our students to come to school, but we want them to come to a quality facility. And we're going to make some quality facilities. We're going to build some quality facilities for our students so that they can have a better learning environment. So back in June 2016, the voters of our community authorized up to $30 million of general obligation bonds to be issued by the Centro Union High School District. Of those $30 million, the district moved forward in November to issue the first issue of those bonds, $12 million. We project that in the spring of 2019, we will issue the balance of that $30 million authorization, which is $18 million, to complete our facility projects. What are those facility projects? Well, a new STEM building at Centro Union High School District. At the Centro Union High School site. STEM meaning science, technology, engineering, and math. So in the summer of 2017, we hired a construction company to provide utility improvements so that we can bring in temporary classrooms while we move forward with the demolition of the business building at Centro Union High School. And that's the second bullet there on the left-hand side, demolition of business building. So we demolished 7 classrooms and removed 10 English relocatable classrooms that have been there since I went to high school there. And so we brought in 18 relocatable classrooms, a facility office, workroom, and staff restrooms. And I don't know if you've been by the high school lately, but those are located on the basketball courts on Holta Avenue. You can see the adjacent costs of those contracts. So I don't think I need to state those, but they're there for your information. So going to the right-hand side of this slide, fall 2017 and spring 2018, this is what we're planning on doing or have done already. We've hired a contractor to provide site utility improvements for the STEM building. That's all the underground conduit, utility connections, everything else that we need to do in order to prepare for construction of the STEM building at Central Union High School. We've hired a construction management company, and that company is going to help us with that construction, and we're going to take those in phases. So we project that the STEM building groundbreaking will be somewhere March, April of this year, and then begin construction April 2018. That's our projections. So we plan on completing the STEM building somewhere around spring, summer of 2019.
Oh, wow.
Okay? That is optimistic, and that's what we've been talking with our architect and construction management company. We'll see if that does come to fruition, but that's what we're aiming at. Estimated cost of this building, $22 million. Any questions? I'll move on to the next slide. This is an overlay of the STEM building on the Centro Union High School site. As you can see, the tan area is the new STEM building that is overlaying where the previous business building and those 10 relocatable classrooms were at. Unfortunately, we did have to demolish one of the tennis courts in order to make this footprint fit on that campus. Okay? And you can see where those 18 relocatables are located on the basketball courts. Any questions? My next slide is a STEM building site plan. So you can see, and I don't know if this has a pointer, and that won't work on television. So you can see that improvements around this new STEM building includes a fire life safety access to the back of the building coming off of Brighton, which is also going to be a pathway for our community and public to visit our site for football games and other events, as well as to the right of that building is an amphitheater. We're going to build an amphitheater in the middle of campus. And so that is our plan, that we can provide the Great Spartan Band and other orchestra, other events, or we can hold other events in that location on campus, which will be a great benefit to our students in our community. Moving along, this is our first floor of the STEM building. The first floor is 30,116 square feet. And you can see the items that are included on the first floor, which is the robotics math classroom and robotics lab. We have 6 dry labs that will hold physics and integrated earth sciences, 8 instructional classrooms, 1 special ed classroom, boys and girls restrooms, custodian room, storage, mechanical room, and an elevator. This is going to be a 2-story building. Next slide is the second floor. Obviously, it's the same square footage, so the entire building is a 2-story, 60,000 square foot facility. This second floor has the computer lab, 3 dry labs for the physics, integrated earth science, 4 wet labs for chemistry and biology, 7 instructional classrooms, faculty lounge, faculty restrooms, boys and girls restrooms, and custodial room as well. These are the elevations of that facility. So looking from the east, looking west, you can see that east elevation. Looking from the south, looking north, that is the south elevation. And looking from the west, looking east, that would be the west elevation, or from the football field. So not only are we making improvements at Centro Union High School, but we're also going to make improvements at Southwest High School. We're going to build a new aquatic center. So we're looking at spring and summer of 2019 to complete plans and submit to DSA for approvals. Plan on hiring our construction company at that point in time. And then in fall 2019, begin that construction. So projected completion is summer, fall 2020, with an estimated cost of $8 million. Here's the elevations rendition of the Aquatic Center at Southwest High School. It will be located to the west of the main campus. I don't know if you're familiar with the campus, but it's just south of the basketball courts and just northwest of the theater. We will have locker shower rooms, restrooms that will be accessible to the baseball, softball area, which we most definitely need. And of course, some stands for our community and our students and families to sit in while they're watching the swimming meet. So I'll move to the next slide, and that is it. That's my presentation. Any questions? And thank you.
Okay. Thank you again for being here and providing us with this update. Any questions at this time? Questions, comments?
Just some brief
A lot
comments.
of, okay?
It's very ambitious. STEM is something that is really underrepresented in our school system, and it is the future. It's great, you know, coming from that background myself, seeing that in high school, that would have been a great high school to go to, especially with the combination of the dry labs and the wet labs and not getting people moved around. It's going to be a great opportunity for our students, and I look forward to seeing that built, as well as the Aquatic Center for Southwest. That looks very ambitious. It looks like it'll be home to many tournaments, and it's just great for the community. You guys are being very ambitious with your building, and we look forward to it.
Thank you.
Good?
Good.
All right. Okay. Thank you very
Thank you so much. That's exciting.
All right, shout out to our Southwest alumni. I think he left already, but it was nice to see somebody in purple. And it's really nice to see that some of our Southwest alumni are coming back and contributing to our community in a positive way. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Did we want to move forward with our Desert Auto Plaza introduction of new owners? This is a really cool night for us, so
How are you?
welcome. Welcome.
Good evening. We're happy to be here. Mayor and City Council, thank you very much for having us. We have a brief presentation that we prepared here. Just to, okay, thank you. Just to tell a little bit about who we are and where we come from. Just while she's preparing everything here, I was just about to ask Pat to come back up here. She was talking about how great it is to own a Honda or to be involved with Honda. I know she was talking about the Power Motorsports part of it, but she did a great sales pitch as a segue for us. So unfortunately, she's not here to follow up on that. You know, if you just hop onto the internet.
So I'm not a technical guy, and Nate is, so I'm going to let him figure that out because I think time is of short supply tonight. I'd just like to introduce myself. I'm Rick Rommel. I'm the chairman of the group. We purchased IV Auto from David and Bill, and we appreciate that. We are a family, community-orientated group. We believe in supporting our employees all the way, and especially when I saw the things about the education part of it. We do a lot of that back in Calgary. Somebody was asking me, why did we come to El Centro? And the reason for that is because we like the people. Where we go is we have dealerships in North Alberta. By the way, the temperature there today was minus 42 degrees. It's a little cold. We enjoy being down here. And I've had a place in Phoenix for many years, and so we cross this area going to San Diego a lot. So, but we enjoy the area. We see a lot of opportunity in this area. It's a great city with lots of opportunities for growth. We see that with our staff that they see opportunities with the manufacturers and the way the manufacturers are going, especially with the electric vehicle and what is happening in the lithium battery. I think this area is going to play a big part of that. Our general manager, AJ Ortiz, is with us today, and AJ is our guy on the ground. He's out of the LA area, and we're off and running, so.
All right.
We'll let you-
Thank you again for having us. Let us take a few moments tonight. We have a grand opening tomorrow at the dealership, and you are all invited. We're looking forward to your words, Mayor, and we want to thank you for that, and hopefully everybody can make it. We'll be there from 4 o'clock on into the evening. We're a family business. Rick is my father-in-law. We're very proud to be here. All of his family is involved in the business, and we're spread across vast regions where we are up in Canada and down into here. But we understand that we're only as good as the community involvement that we have. We're only as good as the customer involvement that we have. And that's what we wanted to put together, just to show you a little bit about who we are and how we plan to operate here in the community of El Centro. And we're looking forward to be a part of it. We want to thank you for the warm welcome that we've received thus far. And that's really all we have this evening.
Outstanding. Comments?
Yeah, you know, I wanted to, first of all, welcome you guys. And, you know, it's pretty tough. We have a heavy agenda tonight, but, you know, I'm glad you're able to see some of the things about our community, our NIPM program, because our city of El Centro, we try to do a good job of reaching out to our community, and we are a family environment, and you guys are going to fit in just fine into our community. I do want to thank Mr. Dave Merrill. He's been your biggest cheerleader. I know that when you guys were looking at coming out here, he picked up the phone, reached out to myself, reached out to Marcella, and said, hey, this is a great opportunity for our city. So I want to thank Dave Merrill for being here, and then also you guys just introducing yourself to our council. That's so important for you guys to be here. And I also want to thank Marcella, and you know, you may or may not know this, but Direct Auto Plaza is a former winner of our Imagine Awards. So you guys are royalty among us. So, but again, just want to welcome you guys here and thank you for being here tonight and being patient, but very excited about our city.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, just want to welcome you. I think it's, you know, I agree. I think it was an important, good timing for you guys to be here because you guys really got to see what El Centro's about, as you know, some of our new employees coming on board, some of the programs that we support. So we're very happy that you're going to be here, and I think you're, you know, again, thank you, Dave. You know, Dave reached out to me also when you guys were coming on board, and really was, like Councilman Cardenas said, just really a good cheerleader for you guys, letting us know that you're going to be a great partner in the community, and that we have lots of good things to look forward to. So welcome to the city of El Centro.
Great. Thank you very much.
Well, based on the video and your community involvement, it seems like you're going to be a great fit to our community. You guys have some big shoes to fill. I've known Mr. Thomas and Mr. Merrill for some time, and their dedication to the community has been outstanding. They've been previous award winners, and I've been in Rotary with Mr. Thomas for some years. So I look forward to you guys stepping into that role and getting to know you very well.
We do have a Kiwanis Club too, just so you know.
No, we'll take you to Rotary. That's where you need to go.
That's the assumptive close right there. Great,
So then it's great. I look forward to attending the ribbon cutting tomorrow and to getting to know you better. I think it's going to be a wonderful synergistic opportunity for your business and our community. We are very community oriented, as you've seen from what you saw today. This is just a small sampling of our meetings, but we do take our community involvement very seriously, and apparently you do too. So I'm looking forward to working with you guys and seeing you be very successful.
Fantastic.
And for myself, I have a conflict tomorrow, and that's why I was thought that I could not make it, but after seeing your video, I think I'm going to move things around and see if there's a way that I can be there, because it's really exciting. I really appreciate some of the things that you said in terms of your community involvement, in terms of the plans that you have for El Centro. You know, we want you to be successful, not only because it's the right thing to do, but you bring a lot of sales tax revenue to the city, lots of jobs, and you just make our community vital and strong. So thank you for that.
Great, thank you.
Right.
Yeah, we're definitely looking to build, continue to build on, as you mentioned, we have some very big shoes to fill, and we're grateful for David and everything, and the Passover and whatnot.
So Dave, you're not leaving though, right?
No.
Good, because I'm horrible with goodbyes, so.
I think you're going to see, you know, something that the city, I don't think it's ever really had, is the big auto group like you do see now in San Diego, LA, you know, multiple stores, a lot of resources. You know, this is something that, you know, Alex and I were kind of chatting about, how Wake Avenue is going to expand, how there's so much growth on that end of town. And I know these guys have the wherewithal to really take this to another level that we've never had before in the valley.
Yeah, so you know,
And
you've heard,
we plan on working with Marcelo and the county, trying to put together a county administration building behind the new courthouse, which I'm told the appropriation money is gonna happen.
it's back on.
I got a phone call from Sacramento a couple weeks before it was announced in the newspaper. I think Alex and I talked about it. And yeah, we would, Bill and I would like to do some other things in the real estate side.
Good,
So,
good.
handing the baton to these guys who do a great job.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Because I'm horrible with goodbyes, so I wanted to make sure that wasn't going to happen. So
No.
I'm going to save my words for tomorrow night, but I do think that this is the start of a beautiful friendship. I've actually been to Calgary. I was born and raised in Seattle. The whole Stampede, that whole rodeo thing. So it's going to be an awesome
Well,
fit
Cheryl, the funny thing is, like I mentioned to you earlier, you did the ribbon cutting in 2006.
for your business.
Wow.
So there we go.
In the same building.
on bringing the pancake breakfast to.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Well, we will definitely be there to celebrate your success and welcome you to El Centro tomorrow. So
Thank you very much. This is AJ Ortiz. He's the general
Okay.
manager with the dealership group.
Just wanted a quick sec to introduce myself and thank you, and just know that I'm here daily on the operations and making sure that anybody that needs anything at all, I'm your go-to person. 100%. I'm proud to work for a group that has a heart to give back. It's one of the biggest reasons that I wanted to come along for this exciting time.
You have,
So all things cars,
yeah.
I'm AJ and I'd be your guy.
Do you have some business cards for us?
I do.
Perfect.
Yes,
Just give them to the city clerk and she'll pass them on down to us and we'll know where to find you.
Yeah,
Okay?
I shared with Nate earlier that I just bought my first Nissan vehicle just 3 weeks ago with their dealerships. I picked up the new Yukon XL, and
That's more revenue dollars, right?
it is.
For the city of El
Right,
Centro.
right,
Thank
right.
you.
Okay.
But the service is great, and you guys took care of us. And Dave, thank you for reaching out too. But really look forward to it. And I think there's an excitement there too. And when I was at the dealership, it's just everything's so new, and I think there's a lot of excitement about what's in the future. So good times.
And I think one of the things that we would really like your help with, we're going to be needing to make that transition to an electronic vehicle environment, right? So where do we locate the charging stations? What do we do with regard to the requirements for our homes, all of that kind of stuff? So Norma, raise your hand. I think you were tasked with working on that. So as we make that transition, we're going to be looking for community partners. Okay?
Thank you
Very
so
good.
much.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Safe travels.
Thank you very
We'll
much.
see you tomorrow.
You guys.
Okay, moving on to our last scheduled public comment, the Calexico Border Fence Replacement Project. Looks like we have some very fine representatives here from Border Patrol. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us here tonight.
Yes.
Glad to be here, glad to give the update. My name is David Kim. I'm Assistant Chief Patrol Agent here, El Centro Sector Border Patrol. So we've been updating various city councils and the county, our law enforcement partners, throughout the process of replacing some of the border fence that we have out there in Calexico now. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through the presentation, and then if there's any questions at the end, I'll stand here and take them.
Okay.
So a little bit of background on our border fence in Calexico. As you probably know, there's most of Imperial Valley has fencing or some type of barricade from the sand dunes all the way up to Ocotillo. So there's really only about 10 miles of the border in Imperial County that's not fenced. And some of the border that's fenced falls in Yuma sector's area, but it's still California, it's still Imperial County. But again, about 10 miles total in Imperial County is not fenced. During 2006, the Secure Fence Act was actually voted on and signed into law. That's what actually got that fencing put in Imperial County back during that time period. The funds for the new border wall that we're replacing in Calexico, it's about a 2.25 mile section that runs from the west side of the Calexico Port of Entry over to well, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the area, but Rocha's Truck Lot. So it's maybe a mile, 3/4 of a mile to the west of the Grand Plaza outlets. And so back in 2009, we identified this area as one of those areas that we would like to switch the fencing out. And you'll see later on in the presentation what it looks like out there. But it's an officer safety issue. It's a solid fence, solid steel. We can't see through it. And actually, El Centro Sector Border Patrol, we are experiencing the most assaults out of anywhere on the southwest border. So you take into consideration Texas, Arizona, El Centro, and then you take into consideration San Diego, and we are experiencing the most assaults on our officers out there right now. So I got a quick little video that'll kind of show some of the problems that we're facing there. And there's not going to be any sound, but this is the New River, and the border fence is just off to the, you can see it right there, bodies running across, and they're all trying to make it to the New River. And we all know that there's some serious issues there in the New River with health and safety.
What year was this video?
All these videos are probably within the last 2 years, up to maybe 6 months to 3 months ago.
Okay.
Here you can see they're trying to climb over one of the fences that we've installed in the New River, and they're splashing water up at our agents there, trying to get us to back off and dunking under the water there. And so we have a lot of issues, not only officer safety for us, but a lot of the migrants that are coming through the area are also putting themselves in danger. We just had a drowning there maybe a week ago where one of the migrants tried to get under that gate and never made it up. So this is the proposed area we're talking about. Let's see if there's I guess it's not working. Off to the right of the screen there, where the red line starts, that's pretty much where the new port of entry is being constructed. And then you can see it runs westbound right behind the Grand Plaza outlets, and then all the way to the curve in the All-American Canal, which is Rocha's Truck Lot, is directly north of there. All that area to the west of Grand Plaza is actually Grand Plaza's property, and they're planning on expanding to that area. So it's quite a big project. They've got some other some ideas in the works for that area. Obviously, it's not good for business in that area if it's overrun with a lot of illegal activity. And so what we're proposing by putting the fence and wall in that area, we think it's gonna make a difference. And we've talked with Grand Plaza Outlet Management, and they've been working with us quite a bit on a lot of security issues in the area. And we've had a lot of good success in that partnership. And they're looking forward to us getting in that area and making sure that we keep that area, I guess, the illicit traffic in that area down. Again, good for business and good for security for us as well. So this is what the current border fence looks like. That's called the Friendship design, and it was actually the design on the mural there was a local artist by the name of Armando Rascon. He designed that in partnership with the city of Calexico and the Border Patrol. We came up and we got that on there. So for those of you that don't know, we've worked with Ms. Carmen Durazo in Calexico, and we are donating about 4 of those murals to the city of Calexico and to the Calexico Art Commission, so they can put murals around the city of Calexico. But again, for us, as you can see, we don't know what's south of that fence, and so the replacement wall for this particular area, it's going to be similar to what you see here in the picture, which is the fencing along First Street in Calexico. This is a little bit smaller. The current fencing that we're gonna replace with the border wall, the bollards are 6-inch steel bollards, and the fence is gonna be approximately 30 feet tall, and I think here in downtown Calexico, that's about 15 feet or so, 14, 15 feet. The panels are going to be prefabricated. I believe they're coming from Texas, and they'll be shipped in on semis. And we've been working with California Highway Patrol to come up with the best routes, so we're not affecting traffic to the best extent possible within the valley. And so we'll continue working with them on that. And the way the fencing's going to go in, we obviously don't want to take a whole fence down for 2.25 miles and then put one up. So it's essentially going to be one panel comes out and one panel goes in. So we have a 300-day construction window. So construction's supposed to begin on February 12th. We don't think it's going to begin any earlier than that, but it's possible that it could start a few days to about a week after that date. There are a couple pending issues that have to be resolved before that can happen. But once that does happen and the construction starts, they have 300 days. And we're being told that they don't think it's going to take that long, but they do have up to 300 days to get that in. And we have a little bit of information on the contractor, SWF Constructors out of Omaha, Nebraska. Any questions?
Okay, we'll start down this side.
Yeah,
Mr.
thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation. I mentioned to you earlier that I had heard from some people that this was coming, and there was what was said to me, in which I talked to you, that this is a replacement wall. It's not the wall that is being discussed.
Correct.
At the federal level. But I do think that in spite of that, in spite of the fact that we understand that we should probably anticipate some issues probably along both sides of the border in terms of demonstrations and people being upset over this. What plans do you guys have to kind of mitigate those impacts?
So we have been, that has been a focus of our planning. We have trained up about 147 of our agents in mobile field force, which for lack of a better term is riot control, crowd control type of stuff. We do have a horse patrol unit, which is also trained in the same type of tactics, just from horseback. We've engaged the Sheriff's Department, all of our local law enforcement partners, to include El Centro, California Highway Patrol, Calexico Police Department, and going over what we think would be the best plan of action in case something does happen along those lines. My partner back here, Mr. Jason Johnson, he's the incident commander that we've identified for when the construction starts taking place. And we certainly don't want to hinder anybody's First Amendment rights. We actually are here to uphold that as part of the Constitution. You know, we're here to make sure that anybody that wants to voice their opinion on whatever it might be on the wall construction, again, it's a wall, not the wall. We're identifying spots for people to actually come, and we'll have an area identified. Hey, if you want to demonstrate, here's the safest place to do it. And that's another thing that we've been working with the county, the city, and the rest of our law enforcement partners to identify. We're not trying to tamp out anybody's First Amendment rights. Obviously, our first concern is making sure they're safe, our agents are safe, the construction crew is safe, and then the general public that might be going through that area is also safe.
Yeah. My second question is coming, you know, I don't cross Mexicali often, but I do, and I'm very fortunate to have a Century card, so I don't use the regular line, but those regular lines get really long.
Yep.
So when you start construction along the border where the cars are, you know, making their way to get across, do you anticipate any issues related to construction and obstructing traffic along that route?
We don't. For the downtown Calexico
Right.
Port of Entry, we're not anticipating any issues with that, which is why we're working with CHP to identify routes to go around the city of Calexico, so we're not impacting any traffic there. And as a side note, we have been working with the authorities in Mexico as well. We had a very productive meeting just about a week ago with the mayor's office in Mexicali. They were actually sent some representatives here, and we were talking about some of the issues with protests that may occur on either side of the border. And we're actually going to be offering the municipal police in Mexicali some training as well on riot control, crowd control type techniques. So they're very interested in helping us, and we're putting the message out to them as well to get to the citizens of Mexico that this is a wall, it's not the wall, and there's already something there. In fact, I think when people see it, they're probably going to like it more than just this ugly, solid thing that you can't see through.
Right. And what was the reaction from the Mexican officials when you spoke to them? Did they?
Very, very receptive.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Any questions?
Just appreciate the outreach. I think it's good for the community to know what's happening, so I appreciate you guys coming out.
The same thing, just giving us a heads up, letting us this is coming. I didn't know it was coming, so do appreciate you guys sticking around and sharing that with our council.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that, sir.
I know there's been some back and forth with regard to the panels and how many are going to be able to be repurposed in Calexico. Has a final number been established as to how many of those can be repurposed in Calexico?
Are you talking about for
The decorative panels.
The decorative panels. We had some confusion when I first spoke with Carmen on that, and so our definition of a panel was different than her definition of a panel. But we got it worked out. So we're going with the mural. So one mural is essentially, for us, it's 2 panels.
Okay.
And so we were able to come to an agreement, and they got exactly what they wanted on that one.
Oh, excellent, okay, because
So-
it did seem to be a bit of a disconnect there.
Yeah, no, we
Yep.
wanted to
Okay.
make sure that we did the city of Calexico right.
Okay. The other question I had, hear a lot of stories coming out of San Diego, similar issue with regard to agent safety, with regard to the water and the pollution flowing north out of Tijuana. And I know that the Congress has been contacted. There's been a lot of representation where they're asking for assistance to get Mexico to maybe do a better job with regard to what's flowing north. But I never read anything about New River and trying to marry those two issues so that there's a unified voice going back to get that done.
Well, we have worked with county officials and also state officials and federal officials on the New River issue. That's also an issue for the port of entry, right? Because the new port of entry is being built right next to it.
Right.
And so,
But are you aware of the efforts that are in San Diego? I mean, same issue, water pollution,
correct,
agent
with
safety.
the Tijuana River and
Yes.
the New River
Right.
are both very, very troublesome as far as health and safety concerns go. I mean, I will say that Mexico has made some improvements on their side of the board that have helped. Obviously, at this point, it's not enough, but I would like to point out that they are working with us on that as well.
I'll echo what my colleagues said. I think it's really important that the word get out, that there's a lot of transparency with regard to what you're doing, with regard to the replacement of a wall, not the wall. And again, thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you
so much.
Okay. With that, we're going to move on to our consent agenda. I gave prior notice to the city clerk as well as our fire chief that I'm going to pull item number 11. So anything else? Then we'll look to approve items 7 through 10, please.
Jason? Was Jason gonna vote? Jason? Was Jason gonna vote?
Just abstain. Okay, that was adopted, 4 yes and 1 abstention. Okay, so Chief, with regard to item number 11, we noticed that there's going to be a gap in the funding.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I
there's-
should take this personal. 2 people left as I
Oh.
walked up. But.
Well, I think
think he
he's
can
coming
hear
right
us.
back. He can hear us. He just went to get a snack. And then also talked with the city attorney for a minute about some insurance issues with regard to the vendor. Because I
Okay.
noticed that the certificate was just about ready to expire that was
Oh,
provided
okay.
to us. So can you address the funding gap? You had 214,000, the low bid came in at 229.
Correct, yeah. So we came in about 15,000 over on this. We had only 1 vendor respond. We've actually already reached out to the vendor to see if we can bring that number down. We've identified a couple areas where we may be able to do that to get closer to the number. We're not looking to reduce the scope, you know, to eliminate some essential things that we need done.
Right.
But we did share with them that we've done some recent maintenance, so some things may not need to be overhauled. So those are some things that won't have like the firm number on if there's a possible reduction there until some things get further inspected and looked at. But I do anticipate that 14,000 number shrinking, at least some.
Okay, and if it doesn't, where's that money gonna come from?
If it doesn't, we'll look at our current maintenance budget, which we may find some money there. If not, we could probably roll it into the next budget year.
Next fiscal year, okay.
Correct.
Or have a big bake sale at Station 3 or
Yeah.
something. All right, and City Attorney, did you want to say anything about the insurance, or is that being worked out?
It's being worked out.
Okay, very good. Any other questions on this? Chief, thank you for the
Thank you.
clarification. We'll go ahead and have a motion to approve item number 11. Okay, that passed 5-0. I'm going to pause for just a second while Ms. Villacaña is coming up, because I forgot to turn to the city attorney for our report out of closed session. City
And
Council
there is
minute.
no report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, that's on the record now. All right, we're moving on then to item number 12, which is our cost recovery for property cleanup. Ms. Villacaña.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. The project before you is what started with our enhanced code enforcement efforts. As you may recall, about a year ago, we went before the council, and the council provided direction to increase our code enforcement efforts. So the property before you, 237 West Hamilton, is our first summary abatement that was completed back in July of 2017. As you can see from the before and after pictures, there was significant debris, tires, mattresses, vehicles. The house was, the property was cleaned.
Ms. Villacaña, can I stop you for a minute? Diane or Norma, can we get the pictures up, the before-after pictures that were part of our budget, or, excuse me, part of our agenda packet, or no?
The,
on the website or on one of the drives?
No, they're in the agenda packet.
right here.
So if you, I mean, we have them on our screen. I'm wondering if, can we pull them up
On
here?
the staff report.
It's not on the agenda. I don't think we can display them though.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. Oh, no.
I
Too bad.
apologize. I think we have him in there. I can bring him up. But the change was significant. Fortunately, the house is still secure. Nobody has entered the property. We're at a point where we want to recover the cost of abatement, and the abatement costs are attached to the resolution. Once, if the council approves the recovery, the cost recovery, the property would be liened with the, to recuperate the cost when the property gets sold. So this is a public hearing where, it's a hearing where we have tried to notify the property owners. We sent certified notices. We posted the property. Unfortunately, we did not get any response from any of the property owners or the property owner. So we've done everything we can to notify the properties owners, and we're at a point where we're ready to lien the property with your direction.
Perfect. Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak with regard to item number 12? If not, I'll return to council, close the public hearing. Any questions?
You know,
Ms.
Your Honor,
Villacaña?
or Your Honor, I was in court.
I like the sound of that.
Got promoted.
I did get promoted.
Madam Mayor, I wanted to say something. This staff report does not do due diligence in terms of the efforts that Ms. Garcia does, along with Frank Soto. And I know there's some narrative as far as the coordination, but, you know, I've been on calls with Ms. Garcia, Ms. Ana Garcia, and I just want to share that we're at this point because there's no other option.
Right.
And the due diligence that staff shows and over communicating and making extra efforts is tremendous. And so I do want to recognize Ms. Garcia for all her efforts, but at the same time, you know, I want our community to know that we're very gracious when it comes to these types of situations. And because we don't have the communication, we don't have that collaborative on their end, this is why we're here at this point.
Yeah.
But, and so I do appreciate the efforts of staff, appreciate the efforts of council, but we are going to beautify our city, and I am very much in support of this type of action, and I'm glad to see that this is before us today.
I was disappointed that we couldn't put the pictures up, because in my mind, picture was worth 1,000
Yes.
words. And to Mr. Cardenas's point, to go from looking at that before picture with the car in the front yard and more trash and junk than I know what to do with. And I know that I always put myself in a position that if that's what I had to look out at every morning when I got up, how depressing it would be to live in this community. And so I think that this was I know we started with our top 10 list of residential properties, and it's just an amazing job that's been done here. So if there's
Thank
no
you.
other,
Just
yes.
one question. So I agree with the comments that were made. Norma, thank you so much for this. What are we going to do, Norma? Is there anything that we're planning to do to prevent additional trash to be dumped on the property by neighbors, by people that just, you know, may view this open area as a place to just throw their trash and accumulate?
The main thing I think that we found, because we're working on, we're going to bring back other properties that are going to go through the same process, but just letting the house be vacant. If there's a vacant property, vacant home, the first thing that we got to do, or somebody has to do, is secure the property, fence it, because with the fence, it's harder to dump stuff. So if it's not fenced, that's where we find that people are you start to dump. And also secure the property, board it up where people cannot enter the property, because
So-
that's where problems.
And this after picture, Norma, there's no fence that I can see here, so is that, I mean, there's still an opening.
That's correct, and we've been able to, I mean, Anna Garcia monitors the house, and in fact, she's here, and she's done a great job coordinating all the efforts. And this morning I asked her, how's the house looking? And she says it's boarded up and there's no signs of people entering the property. So it's worked with this property, but
But
again,
we're going to
it's just-
continue just monitoring it, to make sure that.
Yes,
okay.
until hopefully it's sold, or the issue with the ownership gets corrected and so forth.
Okay, thanks.
Just real briefly, I'll just say, I'm so happy to see that we're actually starting to take a offensive posture on some of these blighted issues in our city. I think it's, as the mayor said, it's got to be horrible for people in that community to wake up to that every day, and it's just depressing, and it makes our city look, it doesn't represent what we want it to represent. So I've been a proponent for years for us to really get on the offensive on this, and I'm glad to see that, Anna, you've done a great job. Frank, I think Frank's here. Frank, you know, low praise to our city attorney too. I think it's just, you know, collaboratively, we've really taken a much stronger stance on this, and I think moving forward, this is just very positive for the city of El Centro. So thank you, everybody. Norma, you also and your staff.
Okay, outstanding. With that, we'll look for a motion on item number 12. Okay, that passes 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Villacana. We look forward to your next one. Item number 13, this is our first round approvals from Measure P, and I'll tell you, since our last meeting on this item, I received a number of compliments for how this council went about the process to get to the point where we're now moving forward with this first batch of expenditures. I also will share with you that I would like to see all of the individual task forces reconvene in April. Because in April, I would like to have a report come back to council as to where we are with this first round of expenditures. And then we need to get started with establishing that next priority list. So we're not letting any moss grow under our feet, so we're expecting to have negotiated contracts that come in under budget, So we have even more money to spend, but really we want to keep this process going. So tonight, I think is essentially approval of everything that we talked about at the last meeting.
Yep.
Are there any questions? I know we do have one person that wants to speak to this item. Any initial comments from council? Nope. Okay, Mr. Todd Evangelist?
Thank you, Mayor and council and city staff as well. Real quick, my name's Todd Evangelist from Carroll County Office of Education. Just want to reiterate our position. We certainly want to work together with the city. I know the last time we met here at the city council meeting, we referenced the desire to get together and meet and talk about maybe even to the point of ascertaining what an MOU would be and what the give and the takes would be on that. We've been busy with something that I want to invite you to, but we certainly would hope that meeting would happen sooner than later. So we anticipate a phone call to talk about that.
Could I ask you to coordinate with Ms. Piedra and we can swap dates and times?
Yeah,
and
excellent idea.
All of that good stuff?
Will do.
Okay.
What we have been busy with, and we haven't picked up the phone in the meantime, is an event this particular Friday. It's not related to Measure P, but I wanted to slide it in to reinforce an invitation to all of you. I think you've received an invitation from us. Hopefully, if an email got to you, if it didn't go to your spam. This Friday, the County Office of Education is launching the BorderLink LTE network that is available to it'll be a Wi-Fi enabled network for our community. When I say our community, we have some pilot programs happening in various communities, Westmoreland being one, Brawley being another, Sealy being another, and the city of Heber. But the signal has already been up and going for a couple weeks now here in the city of El Centro as we're doing some testing. That network will allow us to provide internet access to students who do not have internet access, essentially closing the homework gap when students leave. You would be amazed the number of students that leave school and don't have internet access. We're changing that. But it also is available to public agencies, and as much as our high-speed network that we manage through our fiber optic network is what connects us, public agencies in Imperial County and universities up and down the state. This Wi-Fi network here in Imperial County will be available to public agencies as well. So that's a conversation for people to understand that and in the weeks and years to come. But we look forward to working once again with the city towards having.
This one? This is the Southern Border Broadband Consortium, save the date, February 9.
That's happening that morning. After
Okay.
that,
After that.
at Brawley Union High School.
Okay.
Heated word. I don't think I'd ever say those words coming out of my mouth at a El Centro
Right,
City Council
yikes.
meeting. But we're going to have a flip the switch ceremony, and the state superintendent of schools, Tom Torlickson, is going to be in town
I have not seen that invite.
joining us. Okay,
I
we'll
will
make
tell
sure
you.
that
What's the time, Mr. Evangelist?
Time's going to be at 1:30 on the campus of Brawley High School.
Lunch?
No. I'll buy you lunch.
Are you gonna
Although I
take- are
tell you,
you
why don't we buy lunch in El Centro, and then I'll drive it up and I'll give it to you up in Brawley.
Okay.
You gonna
Thank
take the
you.
bell?
I'll get you. It won't. You won't know where we're at because there won't be any bell to ring when we're up there. But we'll quickly, obviously, get you a quick email about some of the
I was
details
just
on that.
comparing notes. Mr. Jackson and I actually are going to be engaged in another project from Friday 8 to 2-ish, so probably not able to attend, but we wish you luck and then want to hear an update.
Okay, we'll give you an update on that sometime. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
We have a motion by Garcia, a second by Jackson. Okay, we are off and running. Okay, with our first Measure P monies out the door. Okay, off we go. Thank you, Liz, for helping put that together. We'll move on now to item number 14, which is our discussion and necessary action related to proposals received under our CDBG funding for program year 1819. Okay.
Well, it's me again, next year, and here we go again. Good evening, Madam Mayor, honorable members of the council. Tonight, the item you have before you now is the summary of the proposals that we received for the CDBG program. As you know, as a CDBG entitlement community, we have to go through an annual process for our annual action plan to allow opportunities for people to submit proposals for activities under the funding. We went through that process in the month of December, and as a result of that process, we did receive 13 proposals. In your packet, you had a summary of the items. But before we get to the items and for your recommendation, we just need to go through the funding that is available. Here's a list of just a brief list of the projects that were received. We did receive from Woman Haven, Catholic Charities, Senior Nutrition Program, and Fair Housing, and our under Public Services. And we did have 2 new proposals this year of new projects. We have the Imperial Valley LGBT Resource Center, who's requesting funding, as is the Sure Helpline Crisis Center. So those are 2 new programs this year. We also received a request from the Economic Development, the Community Services Department for the McGee Playground improvements, which entails the demolition of the existing bathroom and restroom facility and the construction of a new one in an alternate location on the site. We did receive a proposal from the Code Enforcement Division in the amount of $69,300 for the elimination their code enforcement program. And under housing activities, we received 3 proposals for lead-based paint abatement, asbestos removal, and off-site improvements. There was no proposal submitted for housing rehab because we are still working on the home grant that we have and trying to locate projects for that funding. We also had a submittal for tree replacement program, although that should have been worded as the tree removal program, in the amount of $300,000 submitted by the Community Services Department. And of course, our planning and administration costs for the running of the CDBG program. As far as funding availability, we received direction from HUD to go ahead and base our funding availability off of the current year's allocation, which is $463,642. Of that, we have available 20% of it for planning administration, up to 15% for public services, and the balance of it for other eligible projects. We also have state program income based on an average or an estimate of $31,690. Those have the same cap amounts of 20% for public planning and admin, 15% for public services, and after that, the balance remaining would be for other eligible projects. And currently, we have an amount of $93,507 of uncommitted program income funds. We are fully committed on all of our entitlement funds, but we do have some uncommitted program income funds. And broken down by category, under public services, we do have a couple, at least one required activity, which is fair housing. As part of the CDBG program, we are required to have a fair housing activity. And then we also have the grant administration for the administration of the CDBG program, the amount of 20%, $99,066. So that would be a total of $146,316. Under the public services, you can see what we have available, the 15% from the pending the upcoming allocation, 15% of our CDBG program income. So that would have a maximum funding availability of $74,300. Of that, for public services, the $47,250 needs to go towards fair housing because it is a required activity, which leaves you guys with the $27,050, which is always, I believe, the difficult part of it, the little amount that's left for public services. The funding for other eligible projects, we have the $301,368 from the 18-19 allocation, $20,598 from the program income, and then the $93,507 from the available program income to be reprogrammed. for a total of $415,473. For the other eligible projects available, we are requesting the lead-based paint and asbestos and off-site improvement programs for housing be approved, as well as the code enforcement of $69,300. Ooh, where did my program go? I maybe Liz ended it there. So we have the balance of the other eligible projects that we'd like you to consider, and we'd also like some direction on the public services portion of it and your approval, or we're requesting approval for the housing activities and code enforcement.
Okay. I do very much appreciate the presentation. And I love the fact that you're absolutely tuned into the most difficult part of this for us is always the tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of money that we have available for the public service piece of it. Can you just take a seat right close
I'm
by?
gonna
'Cause
take a
we're
seat
gonna-
right over here.
We're going to be coming back to you soon. I do have speaker slips from Woman Haven, Catholic Charities, and the House of Hope. If there's anyone in the audience that wants to speak to this item, what I need you to do is complete a speaker slip from the back and present it to the city clerk, and it'll come up to me. So at this time, I'll ask Ms. Rodriguez, did you want to speak on this item, please?
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. My name is Lupe Rodriguez. I'm the Program Manager for House of Hope Catholic Charities, so I'm going to be very brief. I know we're on limited time. I just want to let you know that we do operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have a full-time staff, and I just wanted to give you some information on the idea of the homeless families that we have helped with your CDBG funding. Up to date with the CDBG funding, we assisted 41 people this past year, 20 of which were children, 9 moms, and we also served 7 single and attached women. The homeless people we serve were anywhere from 18 years of age to senior citizens, and all from different walks of life. Families that we serve also typically stay at our shelter for about 2 months, and then we find them suitable housing for those families. We also partner with CASA. We assist families while they cope with legal issues and search for housing. We work with Children and Family Services and help moms who have lost custody of their children, and we strive to bring those families together. Mothers attend parenting classes, job readiness classes. They also attend counseling and training workshops while at the shelter. Our community is so helpful, and we work towards a better quality of life for the homeless, and these important funds help us help those families and children. Additionally, the majority of the families that we serve make their home in El Centro. So I just, ask for your continued support, and I thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Dr. Moser?
I'll say your honor, just to keep that there going. But it was an honor for me, for you to invite me to give the invocation. And it's always been an honor for me to be here. I've been here ever since the very first CDBG hearing, and I was a lot younger and less gray than I am now. But in 2018, we are celebrating our 30th year as an agency being the provider of senior nutrition for the Imperial Valley. And that comes with a lot of responsibility and a lot of focus and advocacy on the needs of our senior population. So my presentation would be brief on the senior and the nutrition. Currently, we are serving 53 homebound seniors who are residents of El Centro. That makes up 44% of the entire home-delivered meal population of the county of Imperial. Those 53 individuals range in age from 62 to 97. We actually have 4 seniors who are 97. The average age, the median age, is 81. In order to be a recipient of home-delivered meals, you have to score 7 or more out of a scale of 1 to 10 on vulnerability. 100% of these 53 individuals are 7 or above. 43% live alone, and 94% are low to extremely low in their income. But they're the lucky ones, because we have 43 seniors who match the same profile who are currently on a waiting list that we do not have the resources in order to provide them a meal. Now, in terms of the nutrition part, in our proposal this year, we're asking for basically the same amount of funds that we received last year, in this current year, and that is to provide 6,000 meals, which amounts to 1,000 meals per month for those 53 individuals. And I provided to you a copy of our menu for the month of February to show that in our budget, we're only asking for $2.50 to pay for the raw food that we use to prepare those meals. So your investment is in the food, not the labor, not the building, just the food that goes on that plate to that senior. And that $2.50 buys that meal that you're seeing that they're getting. It's a diverse menu, it's culturally appropriate, it's to their taste and likings. Annually, we do a client satisfaction survey, and year after year, the home-delivered meal recipients score us between 4 and 5, which is very good to excellent. And it's all about, for them, the fact that it's more than just a meal. They get a daily visit by a driver who's able to say, "Hello, Mrs. Smith, how are you doing today?" And that's the only thing she hears that particular day. Plus the fact that we can monitor their well-being. There's also a copy of our newsletter, Food for Thought, which provides them important health and safety information. So with that, I'd like to stop, but also to thank you for your support in the past, but even broader than support for senior nutrition, the fact that this council has been represented by comments and the tenor that you've presented throughout the entire meeting. You really do care about the citizens that you represent, and particularly the poor, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, Doctor. Okay, do we have a representative from Womanhaven here? Ms. Soto.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. We do realize that the funding is so little, and all the agencies here, we all collaborate and everything. And we've also been very blessed to have been recipients of CDBG funding since approximately 2007. And it's helped support our emergency shelter operations. Some years we did get transitional housing. I think the past couple years has only been emergency shelter. And we are the only state-certified domestic violence shelter-based program in Imperial County. And I provided you with an annual report, I believe, for listing our accomplishments in the past year. We provided services to over 3,100 people. We do have just our shelter. In addition, we have rapid rehousing programs, which help us stabilize the families quicker. We move them from more quicker out of shelter and into their own housing. And in addition, providing additional supportive services, counseling, therapy, job skills, legal services, just to name a few. And we just wanted you to know that any funding that you invest in our programs, no matter how small, it makes a difference, and it makes an impact in the community. That's all.
Thank you, thank you. I'm sure we won't be swayed by the fact that so far I've seen Alex's picture in here twice. Yeah, that's
He likes
hilarious.
to pose.
I know, that's great. Okay, thank you. All right, so let's see. Thank you for that, Ms. Soto. Sure Helpline. Oh, okay, so it looks like we have three people. Do all three of you want to speak, or?
Just two of us is fine.
Okay, and then Margaret, you're going to say thumbs up to whatever they say? Okay.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'd just like to take this time to introduce myself briefly. My name is Brandy Galvan, and I'm a lead advocate at Sure Helpline Crisis Center.
My name is Joanna Ramirez, and I'm also a lead advocate for Sure Helpline Crisis Center.
So really briefly, we also are aware about the grant proposals and how much the budget was. Unfortunately, we went ahead and we had to, when we saw this grant, we had to go ahead and give it our best try. Again, as many of you guys know, we primarily focus on sexual assault here in the Imperial Valley. We are the only rape crisis center, and we attend to the whole Imperial Valley. We just wanted to make a side note that approximately 40% of our victims last year were residents of El Centro. Just wanted to make that side note. And the most point that I can say expressing the need of this housing assistance for these victims is that there is no housing assistance for victims of sexual assault anywhere in the Imperial Valley. So we have faced our clients, faced the victims in their time of need, and unfortunately, we do not have any place to send these victims. We have faced the victims afraid to go into their own residency, afraid to return to their own houses because of the rape occurring in their own house. And again, we just wanted to express the tragic need for these residents. And really quick, I'm gonna send it over to my partner to speak briefly about that.
So we have the honor to be able to work with these victims directly at the time where everything occurred and provide the support and emotional support for them during the sexual assault exam. Then from there, we get to work with them throughout with attorneys, law enforcement and gets involved. But it is just, it's a setback for us when they're feeling excited and happy about getting all the services and, okay, you're gonna help me with the counseling and you're gonna do this for me, you're gonna refer me here, but I don't wanna go back to my home. That's where I was raped, and I'm afraid that it's gonna happen again, or I'm afraid that my kids are gonna experience the same thing. And when they tell us that, to me, it's just, it puts a hold on my job and, to what we really can do. And fortunately, we haven't being able to tell them, okay, I have a place for you to stay. I actually had to work outside of the county to get a couple of victims for a safe house. And it's very difficult sometimes with the transportation, and also, we're putting behind our other clients that we have to continue assisting with the counseling. And to me, that is one of the most important, details right now, where I feel like I can't really do my job as much as I want to, because that puts a hold on us. Like, it would just be a wonderful idea to provide a housing, even if it's a studio or somewhere for them to be for at least a month, and for them to continue on with their services. And it'll just give them a time and place for them to even heal a little bit, think about what they want to do, and hopefully get them back on track, get them back to work and where they really want to be, and unfortunately, we have to work a long process with them to, help them learn that what happened to them, it can stay to the time and place when it happened. You don't have to carry that with them. And just because I don't see it, it doesn't mean that they're not carrying their pain of backpack in the back. And, I can't see that. But whatever, when they say, I can't go back to work, I can't be a mom, I'm scared, and those little type of little things to us, it means a lot. So this housing would be, a really great need for us to be able to, for our assistance to the victims, and to be able to provide them with the best help we can.
So this would be a new service?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it would.
And just to clarify, so if you have a woman who's in crisis and she's gone through the evaluation at Pioneers, right, and doesn't want to go home, there's nowhere to refer her?
There's nowhere, no.
You can't refer her to
We can make the referrals out, but a lot of the times what we've seen is that they return to us saying, I mean, we collaborate and make the referrals out, but if there's not room in that moment, and really because of the fact that they are sexual assault victims, not every agency is available to provide in reality to sexual assault victims.
Right, recognizing that, but, so I'm just wondering, is there an opportunity to collaborate either with House of Hope or Woman Haven to see if maybe there's an opportunity there? Because, I mean, these are already established programs, and there's a lot of money that goes into establishing a shelter. It's not as simple as
Hi,
renting.
I'm Margaret South,
Hi,
Sexual Helpline
Margaret.
Crisis Center. Yes, there is, and there's also the county. I mean, they have victim witness, and then by the time the victim gets help,
Right.
a lot of days pass. Now, yes, we have Woman Haven, and yes, we do have Catholic Charities.
Yes.
But it's not enough. It's not enough. I mean, the need, let me just give you an example. A 60-year-old lady from the east side in an apartment gets raped and gets battered. And it happened, and they prosecuted the man, but meanwhile, we had to deal with that lady until victim witness could send her off to another county at a place where she could be protected. And we have young girls, their mother told her not to go to that party, they got raped, mothers don't want them back home. It's tons of things. Now, yes, we have Woman Haven, but they're packed sometimes, and they deal with DV cases a lot. I mean, if they don't have room, they don't have room, period.
Yeah.
I mean, they have been turned down. And it's a different case. When we work with them, rape victims are totally different. Now, let me tell you, there's a lot of rape victims by their partner or their boyfriend or their husband and beaten up. And it's happening in the Valley a lot. And it happens here in this town. It happens all over the Valley, but this town, you know, it's happening a lot. And we're working close with the cops. This type of help, they're getting it in other communities, in other counties. You know, seems like a little bit more complicated, but we want to be able to get a place where we can work with them and help them. And that's not only women, that's men also, and young children. Okay, so thank you very
Margaret,
much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, so now we have the Ivy LGBT Resource Center.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We had a brief video that we'd like to show. It's about 3 minutes.
No, That other presentation that you had, I think that had the numbers. Wanted to see that too. Okay, all right, go ahead.
Again, my name is Steven Mireles. I'm the chairman for the Imperial Valley LGBT Resource Center, and we're seeking funds for the center in order for us to be able to reach out to members within our community to let them know of our presence. We've been having, yeah, if we can. And if I could just show this quick video, it'll give a better understanding of what we do.
The mission of the Imperial Valley LGBT Resource Center is to create a safe place and empower the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community by connecting them to essential resources. Located in Southern California's Imperial County, the center addresses the needs of an underserved community along the United States-Mexico border since October 2015. With significant negative views of LGBT people in this conservative area, the center seeks to improve the quality of life for LGBT people through support groups, health services, and community. The center is the only LGBT nonprofit organization in Imperial County, and we continue to be the sole provider of many LGBT-related services. The center makes a difference through our expansion of services and advocacy within the community. The center has expanded services in 2 key areas. First, the center continues to grow its support groups with HIV testing, transgender support, and anger management. The center has recently begun to provide free rapid HIV testing and counseling with referrals outside for additional health needs. Our transgender support group provides a unique service not offered anywhere else within Imperial County. This service has expanded from helping 5 individuals in 2016 to 13 people in 2017. Second, The center is also working with support for anger management. Through collaboration with Imperial County Superior Court's probation, the center provides professional counseling for individuals dealing with anger and domestic violence issues. In addition to these services, the center continues to advance the case for LGBT rights within the Imperial Valley through advocacy. With cultural competency training and outreach, the center helps provide professional organizations training on LGBT health issues. Also, with promotion for our various support groups, services, and events, the center reaches out to our communities via television and radio, both in the United States and Mexico, helping to locally normalize the LGBT population. The center measures impact of our mission in a few ways. First, the center has expanded its services based on need, often doubling the size of multiple support groups for anxiety and depression, transgender support, youth groups, as well as anger management. Second, the center has nearly doubled the number of unique individuals accessing our services from 350 in 2016 to 600 in 2017. Third, the center's budget has increased through grants, governmental contracts, and donations from $49,000 in 2016 to over $76,000 in 2017. Lastly, our center held its second annual Pride, which saw attendance increase from 400 for our first Pride to over 1,000 this year, with many local businesses and agencies joining us in celebration of the rights for LGBT people. The facts are, our mission is making a difference, our mission is having an impact, and our mission needs your support.
And just to briefly add to that, before this continues. Hopefully that works. Just to add to that, again, we've been in operation for over 3 years now. We're based here in El Centro. We're very proud of that. This city has been so welcoming to us, and we've seen so much support. All of our services that we have at our center are completely free of charge. And so because of that, we have a lot of overhead and we have a lot of money that we go into our services right now. And our primary issue is outreach, to reach out to the community, to let them know that they're here, or that we're here, and that we're offering services to our community. And lastly, we want to continue our efforts in providing education to our medical community, our law enforcement, and then also for our schools as well. So that's what a portion of the monies that we are requesting would go to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. The last speaker slip I have then is Rosie Blankenship. Anybody else? Nope. Okay.
Can you limit her to 3 minutes, please, Ms. Blankenship?
Good evening, Chair and members of the City Council. Rosie Blankenship, Acting Area Agency on Aging Director, Public Administrator. I'm here to, one, answer any questions that you may have on Catholic Charities' proposal for the $15,000 to feed 50 seniors in El Centro. Just to give you a little bit of insight of what our agency does with the senior nutrition program. The Catholic Charities receives approximately $160,000 this current fiscal year in order to provide home-delivered meals. Of that, 40% goes toward providing meals in the city of El Centro. Being the county seat, obviously we have more population here, so the need is greater in the city of El Centro. Unfortunately, this past fiscal year, the California Department of Aging reduced funding in the senior nutrition program. The one that was hit the hardest was our home delivered meal program. Sadly, it's the program that needs the most funding, and it's also the program that has a waiting list. We currently have a waiting list of about 90 seniors. Of those 90, 40% of those are within the city of El Centro. So there's a great need in the city. We applaud the city of El Centro because the city of El Centro has been one, if not the only city in our county that supports senior nutrition. And so we thank you for the years that you have been providing to assist this program, but the county, through the California Department of Aging, can no longer sustain this program. So although the funding that is being provided in past years is used just for raw food, the county, through the California Department of Aging, is still covering the overhead for that. The cost per meal under the home delivered meal program is a little over $8. And that's because we have been able to reduce it through grants that our agency has applied, funding that we have received from private sector and other sources. Now, even with that, Catholic Charities is still subsidizing the program. Backtrack back to 2013. Catholic Charities has been subsidizing a portion of this program for a good portion of the period. They have been operating with this program for 29 years. Of those 29 years, we're looking at about 22 years that they have subsidized that portion that was needed in order to remain status quo. Came to a point where can't do that much anymore, so they started reaching out. They're still doing a certain percentage of it, but every agency, every city that can participate helps. And this is where we're at today. This is a reality. 85% of home delivered meal recipients are bedbound. A good portion of these don't have caregivers. Many of these, the only contact, as Dr. Mosier has indicated, is the driver that comes to drop off a meal and make sure that they're okay. Without this program, sadly, we would have several seniors passing away because this is their only form of socialization. This is, many of them, their only meal that they receive for the day. So I encourage you to support this. This is a very good program that enhances life. It keeps seniors living at home instead of being institutionalized. Statistics have shown that when seniors are institutionalized, they decompensate and they pass away quicker. So we encourage you to please support this program as, again, it's one that is very much needed. And we all know that baby boomers are becoming seniors exponentially. It is stated that 10,000 seniors, baby boomers become seniors every day. In Imperial County, within 2030, we are gonna have a 400% increase of senior population. And our county, as well as the state, is ill-prepared to meet the growing needs of our senior population. What you do is incredible, and we thank you, and we ask that you continue to support this program. Thank you.
Okay, so, Mr. Jackson, I know that you've always
Crunch
done
numbers.
a wonderful job on the number crunch, but was there a second presentation? Because what I think it's important for us to look at the results, because all of these programs tell us how many people they anticipate serving and then how many are actually served by the program. So,
And Mayor, I also would like
Yeah.
to be reminded as to how much we funded last year.
Okay.
It was more.
Yeah.
It goes down every year.
every year it gets less.
So it's on the individual slides. You can see it
Okay.
on for like the House of Hope on this slide. They received this fiscal year, they received 6,500. You'll see that obviously their numbers don't show full expenditures because we are still within the program year and receiving requests for reimbursement from them.
So can I ask a quick question, Ms. Rodriguez? Are you expecting to totally expend the 6,500? Thank you.
Ready for the next slide?
Yeah.
Next one is senior nutrition. As you can see, they've almost met their goals of people served, and right now we're at 14,426, we've received reimbursement requests for 5,000.
Yep.
The Woman Haven Emergency Shelter, of the 6124, they have expended 3857. And there's also a 3-year history of the programs that have received funding before you can see their expenditure rates and their goal for their served. Transitional housing did not receive funding in 2017. Inland fair housing, which of course is our required activity. And that's it.
Okay. All right, so let's, thank you very much. Let's start first with questions.
You know, Madam Mayor, I know this is always tough, and I do want to thank staff, you know, again, for putting all the information, and I also wanted to share that did a great job this year in outreach. So I know that they did a good job in just reaching out to the nonprofits, so I do appreciate it. And I know our city has really focused on senior nutrition and housing. I think that's very important. And I'm, you know, glad to see what's happening with Sure Hotline, especially with all the success with LGBT as well. I'm obviously very much in favor that we continue to support, you know, our senior nutrition program and House of Hope, along with maybe, you know, giving some opportunities to the other folks. But I know that our primary focus, especially when it comes to homeless, is a major issue, and senior nutrition. And I know that they've done a pretty good job with the existing money that they've given. And then I also want to highlight that, especially when it comes to House of Hope, they've reached out and you know, seeked other funding. I know they were a recipient of the IID to kind of upgrade the infrastructure. So some of the costs that, or some of the grant funding that they're seeking is more of the programming, and they've done their due diligence in upgrading their infrastructure, what I also appreciate as well. So hoping that we can kind of stay in the wheelhouse of senior nutrition and homeless, and maybe begin to address some of the other public service and advocacy efforts that are out there.
Okay. Mr. Silver or Mr. Garcia?
This is always tough. How much did we allocate last year total for through public services? Remind me, please.
Would have to add it up. I don't have last year's presentation with me. Hold on just a moment.
If I may, Madam Mayor, it's probably around the same amount as
About the same, yeah.
25,000, because as was pointed out in the presentation initially, we're basing the breakdown on the current allocation that we receive from HUD. So after taking the money allocated for fair housing, it's about 25,000,
I think if we go back to, we can get the numbers right off of your
I'm
last
doing-
presentation,
I'm doing
right?
math right now.
Okay, but I think you're right, it's
It's
probably around 25.
Um,
Do you have additional?
No, well, I mean, you know, unfortunately, there's going to be some people that perhaps will not get any funding, and that's not to, you know, in any way be a reflection of the services that you provide, because we all know that what you provide is essential to our community, and there's just not enough money to go around through CDBG funding to be able to adequately assist the important work that you do. So that's what I kind of anticipate doing. I am in favor of at least sustaining what we did last year in terms of our senior nutrition center and our homeless, our Catholic Charities contribution. You know, I kind of hate to say, you know, that the vital importance of providing assistance to our seniors in terms of meals is something that we have to continue to consider. And this is one of the most difficult meetings that we have every year in terms of allocating very limited resources to some incredible programs that assist our community. And so I wish we had more money.
Every group that presents to the council is clearly worthy of backing of the city. And I thank you all for coming and presenting. This is a very, very difficult decision. It was difficult last year, it's difficult every year. We always wish that we have more funding available. But when I look at it, you know, I clearly lean towards victims of active crime and also our senior population, just the most vulnerable of the people that need to be served. And when I hear stories of people our seniors being bedridden and only having access to one person a day and having one meal a day, that's just heartbreaking, and I wish we could do much better. But I would definitely support to keep those funds available the way we did them last year.
Can you bring up the slide where the funding has been requested? I agree. This is like the meeting that we always have. So much soul searching, and it's really a struggle for us. So For me, every year, I say exactly the same thing, and that is, we've got to make sure that people have a safe place to live, and we have to make sure that they have something to eat. So, I have been to the LGBT Resource Center. What you have accomplished in the very, very short period of time that you have been in the valley has been absolutely amazing. It seems like you are out all the time, everywhere. I wish we had your energy. I think you've done a remarkable job in the very short period of time that you've been here. When I weigh your request, though, for outreach with, can I offer, a few more meals to our seniors, I kind of have to weigh on the side of providing the meals. So then I kick into high gear as to where else is there a potential that we could help you with your outreach? Are there other opportunities where the city could take a more active role in making sure that whenever we have an event, that you guys are front and center and having the opportunity to showcase all the great services that you provide? Are there funds available through our Friends of the...
Absolutely.
that?
Friends for Community Foundation.
The Community Foundation, because we know that the CDBG funding is very narrow on what we can use that funding for. So I hope you understand. I think your programs are worthwhile and you've done a remarkable job, but with such a little bit of funding, I mean, for me personally, I think I have to weigh kind of going in another direction. And I'm going to have similar comments for Sure Helpline, and that is that, again, you provide a remarkable array of services that are very much needed, and Margaret, I mean, we've worked together for a very long time, and I know the needs are great. But we have established programs already that can provide shelter services, and I'm just wondering if we augment the funding for existing shelter services, would that mean that there's another room at the end for someone that comes into your program, as opposed to diverting funding and trying to get you guys up and running with housing? So for me, I really need to see maybe us go back to our core funding strategy, which is the emergency shelter for women and children, the senior nutrition, and the House of Hope would be my three. That's me.
So, I guess the last few years I've kind of thrown numbers out there to at least start the discussion, and I will say that I've been extremely proud to be on this council when it comes to supporting the senior nutrition program. I think it's the one of the most important segments of our community that's definitely underserved. And I'm proud to say, or proud that, Rosie, when you talk about, I think we're the only city that supports it. I think, I'm proud, and I think all my colleagues are proud to say that it's one of the things that we enjoy doing because it's necessary, and we don't want to forget those people in our community. So I'm gonna throw some numbers out for conversation, and we'll kind of get going on it. I'm suggesting or proposing the full funding of $15,000 to the senior nutrition, proposing $5,000 to the transitional shelter.
Transitional for?
I'm sorry, the Woman Haven Transitional Shelters.
That's the emergency shelter.
Yeah, emergency shelter. 5,000 to the Catholic Charities emergency shelter. And one point, and I'm proposing 2,000 to the LGBT, and the only reason, and I agree with the comments that the mayor had regarding the difference between outreach and having a meal for somebody, but I think for too long it's been a segment of our community that's been overlooked, and I want to say that I've gone to a lot of your events, and I know a couple of my colleagues have too. And the work that you guys have done has been tremendous, and I think it's something that's needed in our community, and I think it's beyond the outreach, it's the accepting of that community, and I think that due to a large extent of your outreach and the ability to communicate to the community has brought the community together. And so I see it as yes, I definitely see when it comes to a meal and outreach, I agree. I think that there's no comparison. I mean, obviously, some people aren't eating and some people are dying because of lack of food. But I also see what you're doing is an important part of, I think, what makes El Centro different than the other cities in Imperial County is that we've become more inclusive, and I think that kudos to you and people in your organization that has made that happen. So that's why I throw it out there. I know it's open for discussion with my colleagues, but I would just suggest the 5, 5, 15, and 2. I also agree with the mayor on, I think the Sure Helpline does a tremendous job in serving our community, but I also agree that to start a new program when there is some existing programs out there that I think can hopefully service that, and hopefully the funding that we give to Woman Haven and Catholic Charities as far as House of Hope and the emergency shelter, hopefully maybe there can be some more collaborative efforts to maybe set aside, beds specifically for that so that they're not turning people away. I think that's another, I think it's got to be horrible to have to turn away somebody that's just gone through something like that. So I think that if there's a way to work collaboratively where you guys can have set aside 1 or 2 beds on a regular basis so that you're not putting them in that situation where they're having to say no to somebody that's gone through a tremendous hardship. But I think to try to start a brand new program, obviously we don't have the funds to do that, and I don't know that you have the funds or the ability to go get those funds to start that program. So I think you'd be more successful in working collaboratively with groups that have already got pre-existing shelters in place. So that's the only reason why I did not suggest any funding at this time for Sure Helpline. So that would be my starting block.
Thank you.
What do you think, Mr. Silva?
Well, I agree with all the comments that you made, Mr. Jackson, in terms of the value that the LGBT Center provides for our community. There's no doubt about that, and what they have done has been incredible. I don't agree, however. I do think that $2,000 to our seniors, in which we've been told we have a wait list of 100 people, in which case this could potentially be a life and death situation for them, and be able to provide a meal. I agree with the mayor in that when I weigh the urgency of what we're doing and what that means to those individual people, I tend to lean more in shifting those $2,000 back to our senior program, because I think that how that value is stretched across our community and our seniors is of vital importance. No reflection of what you do. But I just think that given the severity and the urgency of the need of our community, that those funds will be better spent providing additional assistance to seniors.
If I may, I believe that the ceiling on the senior nutrition program was 15. So what Councilmember Jackson suggested is that we fund that at full amount. So are you saying, Councilmember Silva, that we would fund that at 17?
No, I don't think we can do that, can we?
No.
Well, their application amount was for 15,000, and
No, but-
Councilmember Jackson's
but no-
recommendation was to fully fund them.
Right, but I would refer to shift that money to either the homeless shelter.
Okay.
I just see, again, the urgency of providing services to these very, very vulnerable populations. I think is just critical for me.
Yeah, and if I may piggyback on that, Madam Mayor and Jason, I would encourage LGBT to submit a letter to our foundation. If that were the case, where we can help maybe House of Hope with some of the homeless issue, but I would encourage you submit a letter to our foundation, and also short hotline. Look at our mission statement when it comes to the El Centro Community Foundation, and if you believe that the programming is aligned with the mission statement, to feel free to submit a letter in the event that we're not able to fund those 2 programs.
Yeah.
Mr. Garcia.
I tend to agree with my colleague, Mr. Silva. I think that we have to deal with the most vulnerable populations that we have. So I would ask to allocate that money back into the House of Hope.
So are we comfortable with a 15,660? 15 to the senior nutrition, 6,000 to the emergency shelter for women and children operated by Woman Haven, and 6,000 for House of Hope.
I would, yeah, I'm fine with that.
And if I just may say one other thing, and I hate to, but I just want to piggyback again on what the mayor is saying as far as our community sponsorship programs as well. So we've allocated money for our community sponsorship. So again, I would look at that process, and there's opportunities for funding there for events that can probably supplement your guys' efforts.
Okay, so I think we have a motion for funding, 15,000 for the senior nutrition program, $6,000 to Woman Haven, $6,000 to Catholic Charities House of Hope.
So moved.
Okay, the only remaining item would be the other eligible activities. Before you make any decision, I'd like to point out one of the activities that was submitted was for the tree removal program. It was submitted by the Community Services Department. I have been in contact with our HUD representative to make sure this is indeed an eligible activity. We looked at it from 2 points, one for tree removal on public side and one for tree removal on private side.
Yes.
If it were to be in the public side, it would have to be within an income eligible area or a CDBG target area. If it were on the private side, anybody applying to have a dead tree removed would have to go through income eligibility.
Okay.
I have since then and spoken to her twice, once again this afternoon. At this point, she doesn't think it's going to be an eligible project. She is not giving us a definitive no, but she has put it back on me to get out my Code of Federal Regulations and
Right.
find some place that I can put it. So far, I can't. I've gone back to the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974, which the whole CDBG program is based on, and pulled up the act where it defines what's eligible activities, and I can't find a place to fit it. She said, give me something in writing where you make the argument and you find where to fit it, and we'll review it again. So far, I can't find it. The public side of it, she was even more towards the side of saying no, because she said if you have dead trees within a public right-of-way, it's a maintenance issue, and you can't
Right.
use CDBG funds for maintenance. On the public side of it, there was the whole income eligibility, and there was also some liability issues, but it didn't fit in with the housing. It's not actually to improve the housing, and the funds are for the improvement of the housing.
Well, yeah, but it's going to be to the detriment of that housing when that dead tree
and
blows
she-
over.
exactly
and
what I told her, and
squashes
she-
the roof on the house. I
She
mean,
100% agrees, but.
we've got people that can't afford to get the trees removed. So
And
what's-
that's exactly my argument to her, and it was the health and safety issue, and it is not, even code, I tried to bring it into code enforcement, and code enforcement, we can only do the actual work of going through a code enforcement. We can't even use these funds to do the repair work or the improvements to bring it back into compliance. It's all for enforcement issues. I went through the whole argument of, we have trees blowing over in the wind. If they're wet and we have a strong wind, the trees could blow over. It's a health and safety issue. And she says, right at this point, they don't see that it could fit into any eligible activity.
Bill falls on top of somebody.
Well, can I ask, are you still researching that? Or
I am.
is it a recommendation, maybe not? Or do we consider and put a placeholder there? And I just want to disclose, I did talk to Ms. Piedra about this before the meeting, where we can maybe put a placeholder there, not necessarily the 300,000, but maybe 50,000 as a placeholder as we address it and determine if there is some eligibility, flexibility there. Is that an option as well?
With your direction, we can go that route. We would need to have a definite answer on whether it can or cannot be used before we complete our annual action plan, and that deadline is coming up pretty rapidly. Since my conversation with our HUD representative, like I said, I have gone through the Section 105 of the Act, and I've gone through our Code of Federal Regulations. I can't find a place to put it.
Well, does it warrant an LSR, that we request an LSR
As
and
if-
have maybe Betsy look at it?
And-
If that's
yeah,
the
yes.
direction of the council, or if there's consensus on that, do we want to go with an
I
LSR?
really think this program is so needed. I
agree.
mean, I really, really do. So I appreciate the idea that we go with the 50,000. If we have to repurpose it because it turns out to be an ineligible activity, then we'll repurpose it, okay?
And then do you guys direct that the balance of it should go towards the McGee Park bathroom renovation project, or?
Did we refund that with Measure P?
I don't believe we've discussed the remaining balance of the funding, which is basically your other eligible projects. If you look at, and I'm looking at this particular spreadsheet in your report that has the summary of the projects for under the other eligible side of the allocation here, for consideration, you have the McGee, it's not necessarily the playground improvement, we're just basically calling that, because that's the first phase of that improvement project out at McGee. As you know, we currently are using CDBG for the replacement of the playground actual equipment. What this is proposing is the actual demolition and relocation of the existing restroom and snack bar that's at McGee. Unfortunately, we couldn't include this component in that grant application that we submitted for $3 million because this actual building was actually built with state money, so they wouldn't allow us. It's not eligible, so we had to look for alternative funding. It wasn't included as part of our Measure P because we wanted to bring it forward with CDBG, but as you can see, based on some preliminary in-house estimates, we are looking at about $450,000 to do that relocation. And then we have under housing, proposing to set aside $20,000 to support our home grant that we receive. Unfortunately, what you see here, the lead-based paint, offsites, and asbestos removal are not eligible under that home grant, so at least we are setting aside maybe to be used for one project. And then the other request is for code enforcement, $69,300, and of course, we talked about the tree replacement program. So those are basically considerations for you for that remaining balance of funding that we have, which is approximately $421,000.
So, if I may, Madam Mayor, so in regards to the housing activities, if we were to take and fund that in full at 20,000, and then in regards to the code enforcement, could we, instead of the 69,000, or excuse me, that's 69,300, correct, the request?
Correct.
That's correct.
If we were to take that down to about 59,300, would that still be sufficient to meet the needs in terms of the areas of code enforcement?
With the 59,000, I believe we can make it work.
Okay.
We would readjust the budget.
And then we have the $50,000 placeholder for the dead tree ordinance, correct? Is that what we discussed? And then that would, I think, leave us about $150,000 that could potentially be used for the McGee Park playground, but that would still be $300,000 short. That would have to come from some other funding, correct?
That would be correct.
So if we were to, well, let me back up. I think we made a motion in a second.
That was on the,
That-
that was on the community.
okay, so this is a
piece. So
separate-
This is separate. This will be round two.
So I guess what I'm, and again, I hope my math's right, but
You guys need to hear those numbers again, the allocations again, or sound pretty good to me?
well, it was the 20,000, to fund in full, the 20,000 for the housing activities.
Right.
We're gonna, instead of funding the code enforcement at 69,300, we'll knock 10,000 off that and put that at 59,300. Keep the $50,000 placeholder
For the trees.
for the trees,
Yeah.
which leaves us the 150,000 towards McGee Park.
I believe it
actually
actually is more
more.
than that. Your
Yeah.
total for your housing, your code enforcement, and your placeholder is 129,000. We have 415 available, so it leaves you with about 286,000.
Okay.
286,000 that we use to meet McGee Park and supplement the rest with maybe Measure P. Is that,
We can make it happen,
can we
okay?
make that happen?
Everybody
Sounds
good?
good.
Okay. Did you get those numbers?
Yes.
Diane?
Or actually,
Norma?
Let's check all the math out, though.
Check his math.
How you like them apples?
I think you're brilliant.
I think your addition skills are something to be desired, but the actual numbers are good.
All right, we're looking good. Did Stace, we're good on that?
I think we're good.
Okay, so do we need a
Thank you.
second motion on that, Diane?
It'll have to be by voice, because I already
Okay.
used up my one.
Okay, perfect. So, we had a motion by
Second.
Mr. Cardenas, we had a second by Mr. Jackson. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 5-0. Thank you very
If
much.
I could ask one more question, if
Yes.
we do get approval from HUD to proceed with the tree removal program, is it council's request that we focus more, if something were to happen, that she were to say we could do it in both, would you prefer your focus be on public or private?
Private,
Private.
Okay.
private. Let's get out
Nice.
there and help the folks that need help.
I think we have a better chance of convincing them on
Yeah.
private than public anyways.
Okay, all right, we are going to take a 2-minute break because our poor gentleman from Mukulele, do you have a plane to catch? I do not. Okay.
All right.
So
And if
2
you do,
minutes.
it's waiting for you, right? It's parked there. Strange. I can do it.
Okay,
Okay, 5 minutes. Okay, so, good evening, Mayor, council members. Welcome to our mid-year budget review for fiscal year 2018. And this review is as of December 31st, 2017, with 50% of the year elapsed. We'll start with our revenues. With regards to our revenues, we have received $9.8 million as of December 31st, which is 32% of the total amount we budgeted. This number is 36% without the Crookshank revenues that were that are embedded within the budget. 32% may look low. However, traditionally, the revenues have been anywhere from 30 to 32% as of December. So every fiscal year, it's the same thing. And normally, what it is that most of the major revenue sources come in during the second half of the year, and not during the first. Individually, with regards to our major revenue sources, the first 4 or 5 are those. With regards to sales tax, we have received $4.1 million, which is 37% of the amount budgeted. And that's, again, is traditional, as the first 2 months, the revenues for the first 2 months of the fiscal year belong to the previous fiscal year. So this, as of December, we only reflect 4 months of revenues for sales tax. With regards to the motor vehicle license fee, we have 0 receipts, but because this revenue source normally is received half of it in January and then the other half in June. For property taxes, we have received 64% of the amount budgeted. That's $2.1 million of the $3.3 we allocated in the budget, we projected in the budget. This is above the 50% mark as per the county auditor. It's due to the annual increase on the assessed valuations. So it's a very good number as of December 31st. With regards to TOT, we have received 37%. That reflects only 5 months of the revenues, as the revenues for December are not due until January. So it's only 5 months of operations. Other taxes, which includes franchise, gas, and cable, we have received 35%. For business license, that only reflects 5 months. For cable, the cable franchise, it's only 1 quarter. The second quarter, we normally get that in January. And then the franchise for gas, we get that in April. Building-related fees, we have received $42,000. That's $251,000 of the amount budgeted. Service charges, very good at 57%. Grants and other agencies at 52%. Again, a good number. Fines, other revenue, and transfers in it reflects only 19%. However, we're including in the $7.4 million that we budgeted the allocation for Crookshank, Without Crookshank, this category is 41%. So 1.4 million reflects 41% of the amount we budgeted, excluding Crookshank. Overall, at 32, again, that is traditional at this time of the year because some of the revenue sources, most of the revenue sources come in during the second half of the year.
Question, Leticia?
Yes.
On the property tax, so are you saying with the 64% and the reassessed values of property that we're looking to maybe exceed what our forecast number is?
It appears that way, yes. Normally, at this point in time, we either have 50%, a little bit below 50%. So at 64, it was higher than normal. We put in a call into the county auditor office, and that was the response.
Good news. Okay.
With regards to expenditures as in total, as of December 31st, is totals $12.3 million. And that is 38% of the amount budgeted. Without the Crookshank, again, now on the expenditure side, that would be 43% of the amount allocated in the budget. Okay. Individually, really quick, general government stands at 58%. And again, this is traditional because two major expenses are paid at the beginning of the year. That's liability insurance, $1.2 million, and then the LAFCO payment, $164,000. For police and fire at 41 and 43%, below the amount normally expected at this time of the year, the 50%. Some of the items are capital, unexpended allocations is within capital, and then some salary savings from vacancies. For for public works, we're at 43%. Let me see, 11%, but without the Crookshank, this is where the Crookshank is allocated, it is 43%. Okay. Engineering, building, planning at 42, 44, 49%. Those are good numbers within the parameters at this time of the year. Some of it lower than the 50% and due to unexpended allocations within supplies and services. For parks and maintenance, 42% allocation. They have spent $434,000. Again, unexpended allocations within supplies and services. Most of these are, for example, in recreation as well. They have spent only 43%. It's because some of these expenditures, just like revenue, some of them happen during the second half of the year. Then the expenditures, the same situation. Let me see. Library, they're right on target at 50%. They have spent $378,000 of their allocation. For economic development and blight elimination, that is at 31% lower than normal. We have allocated the salaries for the director to the city manager's office. That's Marcela's Piedra's salaries. Transfers out, we have the revised budget reflects $540,000 in that category, the $500,000 for the supplemental pension trust that was done in January, and then $40,000 that is for special events. So that one will do it in the second half of the year. Overall, $12.3 million spent as of December 31st, which without Crookshank is 43% of the budget. With regards to fund balance, we are starting at $12.6 million in fund balance. And then we have our revenues and expenditures, $31.1 million, $31.5 million for expenditures, I'm sorry. A difference of $430,000 gap. Then during the year, we've had several budget adjustments for either capital and various other things, and totaling $975,000. Our ending fund balance projected, if everything is spent as budgeted for, then it would be $11.2 million through the end of the year. And those are the various allocations per the city's financial policy. We have allocated designations, for the economic unknowns, major equipment replacement, accrued leave, Crookshank, contingency. Some of the budget adjustments that we have had to make during the year are these. We have for the youth center, the air conditioning unit, phone system at City Hall, additional recruiting expenses due to vacancies, overtime, just $2,500 for facility maintenance, code enforcement abatement, and then the additional overtime for police and fire and the unfreezing of the 3 sworn positions. Just on a note is if we have we released those 3 positions, but if those positions are not filled through the end of the year, then those will be savings. But just for illustration purposes, the budget adjustments are reflected in this total. With regards to budget challenges within the general fund, the main one that we can go over right now is the decline in fund balance, basically due to the additional allocations from fund balance for those budget adjustments that we just went over. Other challenges such as CalPERS and all that, that is coming in the regular workshops for our next year's budget. We won't go over those now.
Preview of bad coming attractions.
Yes. With regards to the overtime, we'll start with police department. As you know, the initial allocation was $220,000, and then that allocation during the quarterly review, the first quarterly review of the budget, was increased to $350,000. Out of the $350,000, as of December, this department has spent $140,000, which is only 40% of the amount budgeted. So they're under budget by $34,000. With regards to the fire department, we have initially allocated $188,000. That number was revised, adjusted as during the quarterly review to $300,000. And as of December 31st, they have spent 98% of the amount allocated. They're over by $142,000. However, they have that is being absorbed by salary savings. In my rough calculations, they have approximately, as of December 31st, $290,000 in savings from vacancies.
Madam Mayor, question.
Salary savings.
Leticia, on
Yes.
the overtime on the fire, are any of these numbers reflective of strike teams that have gone out that are going to be reimbursed on?
Actually, this is reflective of everything that has been charged to the overtime account. But from what I understand, and there is some monies coming back from those strike teams, and I don't know if Mr. Chief Herbert would like to expand on that?
Chief, you have a number for us on that, on reimbursement?
A few years behind though?
94,000.
But aren't they a few years behind?
No, they're, they lag, but, I actually took out the numbers from what we've already received, so they're a little slow, but they're not a couple years slow.
Okay, good.
So then we would say that number, the 142 or 143 is more around 50,000?
Yeah, you could subtract about 100,000 for what's coming in for reimbursement, correct?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Now, with
makes
regards
sense a little
to
bit better.
Measure P, and we've been reviewing this, we have received as of January $3.1 million, and we'll be spending that.
Spent it already, actually. It's gone. So.
With regards to water and waste, so that concludes my presentation for the general fund. For the water and wastewater, really quick, for water, we have received total operating revenues of $4.9 million. That's 58% of the amount we've budgeted. That's very good and on track. With regards to total expenses, they have spent $3.8 million, or 36% of the amount allocated. Some of the expenditures that are low are the non-operating expenses such as capital and debt service. Some of them come during the second half of the year.
This is looking really good.
Yes,
right now.
this is looking good. We are projecting an ending working capital of $10.4 million for the water fund. For the wastewater fund, same situation, total operating revenues of $5 million is 52% of the amount we budgeted for the year. Again, very good at this time of the year. With regards to expenditures, the $6.1 million or 29% just reflects, it is below the 50% mark as it reflects unspent allocations with regards to capital. Items that maybe will be built or purchased during the second half of the year. We are projecting, with regards to working capital, $9 million as of this 6/30 of 2018. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, that was fast and furious. Actually, it looks pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you. It does look good.
Well, I mean, your work is fantastic over the top. I mean, our budget looks pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Leticia.
Questions,
Thank you.
comments?
Great
think we
work
should
as
just
always.
we just record
Looks
ourselves
very
and say it every
promising.
time.
Thank you.
Did a great
Appreciate
job.
it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so next item is legislative action, and I know we're gonna get a full report at the next meeting, but Betsy, I wanted to throw this one out there for you to take a look at. It's AB 1795, expanding access to community paramedicine. And so this bill seeks to give local agencies the authority to develop community paramedicine programs that allow patients with mental health needs to have more direct access to appropriate care and reduce costs to local healthcare systems. It essentially allows for 911 calls instead of being directed to the hospital for mental health issues or folks who are inebriated. It says current law requires paramedics responding to emergency 911 calls to transport all patients who show signs of mental health problems or inebriation to hospital ERs. This AB 1795 looks to maybe authorize a local emergency medical service agency to transport people to a community care facility instead. So taking some of the high flyers out of the ER department and maybe into a more appropriate area. So if we could get an update on that one next time. Okay, LNA shuttle, I really appreciate your report, Mr. Campos, and staying on top of whatever it is that they're doing. You'll be reporting back in April, is that right? Okay. I still see them from time to time and, okay, no successor agency business, no successor housing agency. So now we are at public comments. So the city council welcomes your input. At this time, members of the public may address the city council on any matter not listed on the posted agenda. Pursuant to the Brown Act, no action will be taken on any issue brought forth under public comments. We ask that you please complete a speaker slip, submit it to the city clerk prior to the start of the meeting. Although you are not required to identify yourself, this information on the speaker slip assists the mayor that all persons wishing to address the council are recognized, and also assists the city clerk in preparing the city council meeting minutes. Unless the mayor extends the time, there's a 3-minute time limit for each public presentation, and any information provided on the speaker slip is voluntary and will be public record. So at this time, we have one public speaker, Chris Ariano.
Hi, it's just very informal. I just wanted to say hello to Edgar. He comes to a lot of our comedy shows, and I'm here to represent Refried Comics. And something that we wanted to put together was like a meet and greet, a very informal like cocktail mixer at a local. The plan was to put on a show for you guys, and you guys were welcome to come. Something to humanize the council people. And so that way it makes, it dispels, I guess, so people like the public at large can get to know their council people in a more informal setting and just talk to them and, and put on a show for you guys as our way of, saying thank you for serving. And that's pretty much it. We had a shot in the dark. We were going to put something together today and we were going to invite you guys, but it went over the time that the place would be open. But our main focus for Refried Comics is to emphasize We usually, local businesses, like more recently, we reached out to the Humane Society, and we're gonna be doing a fundraiser for them on the 31st at, in the Inferno Room in Brawley, and,
31st of what month?
March, sorry about that. On March 31st, we'll be doing a fundraiser, comedy show for them. It's gonna be, I believe, $10 a ticket. And I reached out to Devin, a gentleman who just got the Mardi Gras, who was crowned the Mardi Gras King, and I reached out to him, and he's gonna be on board helping me with that. And that's pretty much it. And so I think whenever the next council meeting is, it might be the next mixer we have. If you guys are interested in coming, it would be probably at Lovin's Cantina. You don't have to drink per se, of course, but you guys are all welcome to come. And it's gonna be an open mic show, and that's pretty much it.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we are at task force and mayor and city council reports. Mr. Silva.
I'm not sure if I reported I attended the coronation of our was that
Yeah.
last week? Was that?
Yeah,
I
that was
forget.
last
I
week.
forget.
Last Thursday?
So,
No, it was
excellent
25th.
job. That was very well done. Congratulations to staff, Marcela, for decorating our community center. It was incredible. Nice event. Look forward to the chamber gala Saturday, and then the parade.
And the state of the city address?
And the state of the city address.
When's that?
Crack me up.
Who's doing that?
Yeah, really. It's gonna be one of you guys
Who's
if you're not nice. Come on now. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay, let's see, we didn't have much time since the last meeting on Monday, so let's see.
Did we report on Monday?
No, we didn't report out on Monday though, so you can go back a little bit if you'd like.
If you wanna.
Where have you been?
You wanna make our meeting
Where's
longer.
Waldo?
Okay, I attended the El Centro Chamber Mixer on the 18th. The theme was New Year's. It was very, very well attended. It was a very nice event. They had a nice taco cart there. A lot of people were there having a great time. It was good to see a lot of familiar faces after the holidays. Then on Saturday, attended the first ever Tamale Festival in Heber. It was also very, very well attended despite the gale force winds.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a very nice event. I'd never actually been in that park before, and got to meet a lot of people from El Centro that were there. And they had excellent tamales. It was great to be there. We had judges, Judge Ulloa and Under Sheriff Miramontes, as well as Sheriff Loera, and I were lucky to be judges. I think we all gained a considerable amount of weight after that, but it was a very well attended event. Then on the 27th, the Holtville Rib Cook-Off was a very, very well attended event. Then we had our Measure P City Council meeting. Did a lot of good work there. Very, very proud of our City Council taking all the time to prioritize on how we're actually going to take care of those funds. Then on Wednesday the 31st, I attended the Senior Appreciation Day at the Fairgrounds. It was a very, very well attended event. Got to meet wonderful senior populations from all over the county, and they definitely expressed their community involvement and their needs. It was very nice.
I heard there was some pretty good dancing going on.
There was.
Yeah.
Got to see my colleague Alex Cardenas. I'm pretty sure he was having a good time as well.
Yay!
They turned me down.
They turned him down. Then let's see, I attended the Heritage Foundation member drive at the fair, where we got basically a sneak preview of all the wonderful events that they're gonna be having at the fair.
Oh, cool.
Including how they've changed the setup. Now they're not gonna have any music in the grandstand. The grandstand is gonna be specifically set up for races and dirt events. And they announced there for the first time that on opening night, they have monster trucks. So that's gonna be a good event for the kids. We're looking forward to going there. On the 3rd, we had Pioneer Day at the Pioneer Museum. That was a great event as well, big community event. I believe they said that event has grown from, I think it started at somewhere around 300 people. Now they had over 2,000 visitors.
Oh, my gosh.
This time, yeah.
Wow.
By the time we got there at 1 o'clock, people had already come through multiple times. But the kids loved it. They had great events. I know.
How was the ice cream?
The ice cream was very good. I couldn't pull my kids away from the musical chairs, though. They had so many events for the children on the grass area. It was really nice.
That's cool.
And then we had the Super Bowl.
Wait, that was a sanctioned city event?
That was a really fun day.
Did you see our logo on the field?
Yeah, that was a good one.
I don't know.
That's it.
All I want is a really big credit from Spectrum for not being able to get the game.
Oh, my God.
Oh, what a mess.
That was not good.
You know, that's going to affect a couple of our local businesses who only have Spectrum.
Yep.
They had to completely cancel all their plans.
It was
Wow.
not
Very
good.
unfortunate.
Okay, Mr. Jackson.
I'm just gonna touch on a couple things. The annual fishing derby, we had
Congrats
that
on
on the
that.
20th.
Great
and-
job.
Yeah, and it's always a great event. We kind of had the wind situation too, but we still had a little over 100 kids out there that braved the wind, and it was a good event. Very proud of our council on the Measure P. I think we're really moving in the right direction, and I think the public's going to see that. The one thing I'll touch on is LAFCO. We had an interesting meeting. So an update on where we are with the Heffernan Memorial Board and the City of Calexico. Obviously, there was discussions where they were looking for funding from the Heffernan Board to the tune of about $700,000 a year for 3 years. They had voted just before the LAFCO meeting to deny that on a 3-2 vote. And there was a little bit of back and forth from some of the Heffernan Board, and it got maybe a little testy with legal counsel from Heffernan Board and our executive director and myself. But I think at the end we gave them clear instructions that we're looking for the Heffernan Board to be able to facilitate providing some kind of health and wellness to the community, and subsidizing an ambulance service that they can get for free if they were to opt out of their 201 rights and join the county program. Wasn't probably the best use of funds. So I think we're going to have another update at our next meeting, but we kind of told them that we might be moving in the direction of dissolving them if they don't kind of get their act together on that. So I think that's going to be some contentious times ahead, unfortunately, but it's unfortunate that there's a lot of money out there that's not really being spent in the right place. So that's all I've got.
I don't know if I can top that, but I'll try. No, just attended the Film Commission on behalf of my colleague Edgar Garcia, and so I want to invite you guys to the 50 Shades of Freed. How do you know?
I watched the first two.
Okay. So this Wednesday night is the 50. This Wednesday night they're having their annual fundraiser.
Oh, I didn't.
$25 tickets. You can get a preview. There's a pre-party at the mall. 50 Shades of Freed is what it is. So
Is that a new movie?
Remember, that was my
It's a new
theme
one.
song for Dancing with the Stars.
yeah. So that's coming up. Mayor.
Chair.
Yeah. Our mayor hit it out of the park. She entertained a group of kids from Kennedy School, Circle of Friends. Yeah, so she did.
That was so fun.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then also had a chance to represent our mayor at an IBC stakeholder strategic plan meeting, and I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir when it comes to Councilmember Silva, but it was really cool because they're setting out their strategic plan. They had a lot of folks from the community just kind of asking, what are some of the things that the community wants to see? Three very important things. One, pedigree in sports. You know, we're kind of, I guess there was a lot of interest in sports, and there was a lot of pedigree when it came to sports, and some of the feedback from the strategic meeting was that we want to see a comeback when it comes to sports at IVC, especially with the programs that we have with our local schools. We also want to see some strengthening in the alumni. You know, I'm an alumni of IVC, and so they want to see some more engagement from the alumni. And then also just a better job in sharing some of the successful articulation agreements. A lot of people perceive, which I was one of them, that they only have an articulation agreement with San Diego State, when they have an articulation agreement with several universities. And so some of the things that they want to see is they want to see IVC maybe market that a little bit better. But again, they welcomed all the criticism, and again, I was able to represent our mayor at that. So it was a great meeting, and kudos to Dr. Jaime, also Dr. Martha Garcia for sitting there and taking those suggestions.
Okay. So let's see, we had the Community Enhancement Task Force, and again, I want to kudos to staff. I think that we get a lot done in those meetings, move forward with a lot of really great initiatives. Was able to participate. I'm a member of the SCAG Strategic Planning Committee, and we actually went forward and adopted a new strategic plan for SCAG that I'll be sharing at the League of Cities dinner on Thursday night. ECRMC has come out with just this amazing new community course action education program. I mean, so pretty much everything you need to know in terms of classes that are being offered through ECRMC. They also shared with us some statistics. We know we had this horrific flu season going on. Our ECRMC emergency department visits are hovering right around 5,000 people per month showing up at the emergency room. Our average daily census, that's the number of people that are actually in the hospital in a bed. We went from about 51 people in November to almost 64 people in December because of the flu. Admissions jumped significantly. Deliveries, there's a little bit of an uptick. ER visits increased 8%. So that's huge. And our clinic visits continue to be really, really off the charts. So, I mean, a lot of people are utilizing the services of ECRMC, and I think that the partnership with UCSD is going very well. Let's see, then we had a ICTC meeting with LTA, and I guess we have Caltrans on board with regard to taking a look at the decorative signage on Dogwood. There's also kind of this, I wasn't aware of it, the proposal with regard to maybe a bond issue that would include City of El Centro. I had a chance to talk to Marcella and Leticia. It just doesn't sound like the right fit for the City of El Centro, and so I was hoping that that would be communicated back to the LTA folks that we probably will not be doing that. The Mardi Gras coronation, Pat and her group, everybody that was involved in that was absolutely amazing. I'm really excited about our King and Queen this year, too. I think that, talk about the year of the dog and cat, that'll be good. Did a bunch of the, rib cook-off stuff out in Hopeville. St. Mary's School was on Monday morning, and I saw a nun walking not just with a ruler, but with a yardstick. I'm thinking, man, she could really tap some knuckles with that one. So, Circle of Friends was on the 30th, which was really cool. We had, what did you say, about 20 kids?
Yeah, it was great.
And again, thank you so much. How many people knew that the chief can do sign language? A little bit. So we had him come over and talk or sign with the kids, and they just loved that. Somebody that they could really relate to. That was really cool. So then that night, I went to Mexico to CETES with Dr. Jaime and
Dr. Johnson, Lenore Johnson.
for the opening of their new, what would it be called? The engineering building, is that what they're calling it? Anyway, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. The new building that they have was really, 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 really cool. Also was at SCAG on Thursday, and Mayor Garcetti was there to talk about the Olympics coming back. And one of the things that probably is not all that well known, but Los Angeles in 1984 was one of the few cities, if not the first city, that actually just made a ginormous profit on the Olympics, and they used all of that money for youth programs throughout the region. So I'm throwing our name in the hat to get some of those dollars. Juvenile Justice Commission meeting. Let's see. We have an upcoming. Are you guys? Coming to
juvenile justice or juvenile
the summit.
summit.
The youth summit is on the 24th. Okay. We all got our grand opening tomorrow. No. Is that tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow. Thursday, I'm going to be up in San Diego at the Sandag Board of Directors retreat, just because we have a lot of transportation stuff. And then League of Cities, who's going to League on Thursday night? Yep. No? Okay. And then, Marcella, have you gotten this, the broadband consortium thing?
We actually got a presentation at our last ICTC management meeting.
Okay. All right. And then I do really hope that all of you can be there at the State of the City address, because you will all be recognized for the champions that you are.
Madam Mayor, I think that after listening to your.
The 15th. The 15th.
What
at
month?
5:30.
5:30.
At, where are we at? Martin Luther King.
Madam Mayor, after listening to your report, I think that you really need to find some things to do in the city.
I love what I do. I love this place. I love this. It's all good.
Does Steve just have a cutout?
Well, you know what, no, I think that's why we've been able to stay married as long as we have. I mean, quite frankly, right? Who could put up with me for 40 years? So, anyway, thank you all very much. I think this meeting is adjourned.
All right.